stopped the virtual camera, and everything should be fine now. I can turn the desktop audio off so it's not two Robs. Am I live?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay. There we go. It says in stream. It's that delay now. It's fine. If we get a little bit delayed to power through Mercury retrograde pre-shadow, that's the excuse now. I'm kicking
It's okay.
off Blame Mercury season.
That's right. Hashtag blame Mercury.
Okay. Chat is popped out. Somebody, somewhere, please. I guess you'll have to reshare it. Oof. Hey, I got a viewer. Okay.
Hey.
So somebody is in here. I'll do this, and then I'll come back over here. Let's see. I can actually pull it up on my
Again.
Mi celular.
Can you hear me? Oh, I can hear myself.
Hey. Oof.
I think.
I'm an exhausted brain that I barely have. I might have to. I shouldn't have to rebalance the audio again, but I might have to. All right, keep talking.
I think we got it, man.
I shouldn't have to rebalance the audio again, but I might have to. Elaine! All right, keep talking. I think we got it. Hey, I heard you. You said that 10 seconds ago.
But I have a voice. I'm like the Little Mermaid. That's my archetype as a Scorpio. I'm like the Little Mermaid.
Okay, so Rob, since the people can hear you now, I will let you take it away. I am just
Hello
here.
there. My name is Rob Kenobi, formerly known as Rob Odinson, formerly known as Rob's Tarot, formerly known as I don't know what else. It's so nice to see you guys. Oh, this is great. This is great. So anyways, the plan for today that Patrick and I are going to do is something called the 4 stages of transformation. We are going to, well, probably first catch up with you guys for a second because I'm excited to talk to you. But the second part will then be tarot readings, zodiac tarot readings. And we're going to go through the 4 stages of transformation, which are confession, which is the thing that you have kind of like on your mind that you haven't really told anybody about. The second part is elucidation. So that means that's like the interpretive part of the thing that's going on, about like maybe why that sort of thing is going on, like how that kind of connects to you as a person and where it comes from. Third part is clarification, which is kind of like, what do I do with it? And then transformation is what life would look like after the changes are made and as you transform. So I think it's kind of cool. Oh, you missed my voice. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Ursula stole it. Ursula stole my voice. I was down at the bottom of the ocean, and she took it because I wanted legs. And then yeah.
Hold up, wait.
Huh.
Did I burn my notifications?
What do you mean?
I think I burned my notifications. Because I used one to go live before I went to work yesterday. I went live when I came back, and then the third one was the failed attempt last time. But I told folks to come back. Because they give you like 3, they'll push out 3 notifications for videos within a 24-hour period. Something like that. So if anyone's a content creator and you watch this and you're like, why is no one getting my notifications? Well, if you post more than 3 videos, they don't send it out.
Oh. That's kind of lame.
Yeah. Because I hit the all thing on the bell. And they're like...
It's all good. They'll make their way back. I put it in the Discord too.
Oh, snap.
I can put it in my Instagram story too.
Oof.
Oof. Okay, I won't do that.
You do whatever you feel is right.
Well, I figured maybe some people might want to stop by and say, hey, what up? You know? I'm just trying to be...
What happened to survival of the alignedest? I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. All right, fine. Survival of the...
Put it in there.
Yeah, no, I won't do it.
Welcome back, Kirsty.
Fine. You want to argue on live stream? We're going to argue.
Yeah, I'm going to argue with you after the... I'm arguing with the world.
5 minutes.
Hey, you can hear
Kirsty
Rob.
made it. All right.
Thank you, Elaine.
All right.
You want me to read Rob live?
I don't care.
Ooh, Ace of Fire.
Should we warm up and should we just pull a couple of cards before we actually start getting into Zodiacs?
Yeah.
Should we just ask, like, just for starters,
what is that emoji? Is that flounder?
Kind of looks like it. Should we just pull a couple cards and see what the juju is today?
Okay. So what's oh snap! I'm
Universal
scared.
juices
no,
are.
I don't want it. I see the 8 of Fire came out.
The 8 of Fire. That's the vibe.
Oof.
Okay,
You've
what's
come
the...
for a message. Rob's here to clear his backlog. And call. Rob's here to answer the call, and he's taking all of them. I'm just here to host.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
I got Princess of Pentacles on the split. That's the vibe that I've got today. Which I always feel like it's kind of weird. Oh, underneath her is the Tower. I felt like it was something to do with learning. For some reason, she strikes me today as like, she strikes me as a little schoolgirl. Like there's something for her to learn. But the Tower for me isn't a negative. The Tower is very much, that's about transformation. It's about reconfiguration and changing things. And the things that need to be broken down so that they can come back together. And then also I have the Wheel, which is giving me Aeon vibes. The god Aeon, which is the god of cycles.
I didn't know Aeon was a god. I just thought it was the world card in the Thoth Tarot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I actually have never used the Thoth Tarot, but yeah, Aeon's the god of cycles.
I've just seen it.
What's your favorite card? What's Kirsty's favorite card?
The Tower. You love when I say
Tower.
Oof.
Oof. I like, it's like you put your hip into it when you say it. You're like, oof.
It's because it's so. Oof is one of those words for me that's one of those like truest expression of the soul type. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's just like oof.
There are two expressions of the soul. There's Om and there's oof. Oof.
Oh snap!
Oh, the 8 of Fire and the Good Tarot is your card.
Oh,
What up, Eve?
Eve, you made it! Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to text you.
Eve, when we were talking about going live, I said we should do an all signs, but it auto-corrected to y'all signs, and I was like, "Where's Eve? That's a Texas reading right there. Y'all signs. y'all signs live."
Well, I could get even here.
Oh, you had 8 of Fire. I just got it too.
Oh snap!
So I just got 8 of Wands coming through too. So, classic card of messages.
Speaking of messages, the Messenger of Earth came out. In between the 7 of Water and the Ace of Earth.
Oh, nice. Okay. So
well,
I feel like
strength is at the bottom of the deck.
Oh. What's it mean?
I would take it to mean...
Elucidate, please.
I mean, the 7 of Water is all about options, but it's almost like a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush type of energy, but it's like 7 birds in a bush and there's a million bushes. But the Messenger of Earth is almost like the bird is behind the bush on the left. I don't even know if you heard me. It's like the Messenger of Earth is almost strongly hinting at which of these options, well, especially in the typical depiction of the 7 of Cups, but it's like which one will actually lead to something worth it, or something that'll actually become something. But with the strength at the bottom of the deck, see, and strength in this deck, they're not even necessarily, it almost feels kind of effortless. Almost like the most difficult thing is like finding it.
Oh, okay. So the things that come naturally. Cool.
Playing to your strengths.
Playing to your strengths. I like this.
You're at poo-poo work.
At poo work. Dang.
You know what I love about work? Sometimes
What's that?
getting paid to poo poo.
It doesn't work out for me so much anymore since I don't work for anybody.
Oh,
So I'm
man.
on my own time now. Yeah. So then you gotta be quick. Get back to work.
I've been seeing the tarot of the she at the local metaphysical store. I don't know if Eve has it, but I'm like, oof.
What's that about? What's that deck like? I don't know if I've seen that one.
I know it's about the she, and whenever I see or hear she, I'm like, oof.
Oof.
The she are evil, tell us.
Oh.
Pooping or pooing at work is rebellion. Why do it on breaks? No, I'm kidding.
It's rebellion against late stage capitalism. I like to poop on the clock.
How is capitalism?
Yeah, I'm using new decks right now, Elaine. I've got Starman because I gave my Starman away to Eve, and then Patrick sent me a new one, and then I've also got Tarot of the Abyss also from Patrick. So those are my new decks.
And I got the good tarot from Rob. Ooh,
ton of water.
Love that. And
Chubby
also,
Buddha sitting on a lotus.
Another deck that I tried to find. I literally just saw it yesterday. I was like, oh, I should use this, and now I can't find it. So good tarot.
That's
Sandra. Hey.
You mean Sharon? Because I used to always accidentally call her Sharon. Hi, Sandra. What's up? You think we should maybe pull some cards for signs?
Yes, sir. You want to start it off?
Like, yeah.
Heck.
Yes. Are we going in order, or are we just like letting people blurt out what sign they want read for?
What? I'm feeling it. It's a day to embrace chaos.
Ah, that's why I'm here.
So I will pick the signs. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. You got like a roll a dice or something? Sorry, a die. Roll a die.
Thank you. Well, polls are a thing. I'm going to make a poll. You have 2 seconds. Oh, and you'll see this 10 seconds late. How do we pick signs? I'll say number 1, order. Aqua, Virgo, Virgo. Oof, they're going for it. You said it. We'll do it. No poll.
No poll.
Well, how do we decide which one of us reads Virgo? Welcome back, Shinto. This time with audio. On Rob's side. I was like, why isn't this working? And I was like, wait, it only does the video. Hello. Hello. So it looks like, oh, she's invisible.
Shinto, welcome back.
Watch this. You ready? From the abyss. Virgo.
Virgo from the abyss.
Oh, you have the tarot of the abyss.
I do.
Oh, Zanoni. Wait.
Don't tell you to go to the sweat lodge. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, now I gotta grab the mystical shaman oracle cards.
Yeah, well then now you know your 2 decks.
Oh, snap. Yep, you're right. And it's sitting right here, too.
You should just mix them together and do like a sand double decker. Just do a sand double decker.
I can't hear anything!
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
My little audio cord is so short.
Oh.
I was
like,
over
shit,
and it just
not
flew
again.
out.
No.
Okay, now we're back.
No.
Wait. It's fine. Because I think this is my audio capture, but it's, yeah. I forgot these were the same size.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh, it worked out. I'm happy too.
It worked.
There were several times where I was like, I don't know. Rob was like, I believe in you.
I believe in you, Patrick.
And after the bullying I suffered, that was all I needed to keep going.
Yeah, I'm not nice.
No, it was fine. I'm just being a whiny baby. And no one is letting me be a whiny baby in peace. Or not in peace, but encouraging me to continue to be a whiny baby. Which speaks to the love.
Who's my friend in the background? That's Annie laying back there. Annie and Lucy, my doggies.
Oh, snap. How are they liking the place? They're loving it, right?
Oh, they're happy. Yeah. So there's the fat husky laying there, and then the other little loaf of bread looking one. That's Annie. So Lucy is the black and white one. Annie's the loaf of bread.
Oh, snap. You'll never believe what's at the bottom of this half of the deck. Guess.
8 of Wands.
Nope.
Sweat Lodge.
Nope.
What is a pentacle?
Think less hard.
3 of Wands.
Nope. You're still thinking too hard. You're thinking way
I don't
too
know,
hard.
Patrick. I don't. Oh, transformation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Get it? It's the 4 signs of the four doohickeys of transformation.
Snap. You said 4 doohickeys, so there's the kind of
The 4 of fire.
The fire and transformation.
Oh. Well, damn, Patrick's tapped in now.
Oof. All right, I'm dialed in, Rob. You got me.
The tarot juices are flowing. That's what's going on.
How do you shuffle this thing?
Yep, Lucy's mine too. Lucy's my yeah. I got a little one and a big one. Hey Ella, welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right. So I think we got to do Virgo first, right? Because we got a lot of Virgos here.
Oh wait, am I time stamping? Maybe in post. Hold up. Oh my gosh, this is wild. Rob has graced me with his years of techno wizardry knowledge and helped me do something that oh my gosh, it was so simple.
It's true.
Where's Comic Sans? I actually love Comic Sans. I hope you don't hate it, Virgo, because you're my favorite. Comic Sans Virgo from the Void. I'm just playing. I don't remember what the font is. Oh well, it's fine. Okay. So wait, who's doing Virgo?
Well, okay. So we could either take turns and we could each go back and forth, or like I could pull a card, you could pull a card, we could go back and forth and just alternate. You like that?
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. You want to do the confession then?
All right. Oof. Forgive me, Virgo, for I'm about to pry into the places that you'd rather keep hidden.
Virgo's confession. What is Virgo's confession?
All right, Virgo. One card. Oh, you get 2 cards. So Virgo's confession, 3 cards. Oh gosh.
It is what it is. If you got 3 cards coming out, then you know.
So it's the rattle. What's in? Okay, so now I gotta read the bottom of the deck. See, that's what. Because the bottom of the deck is the Rainmaker, right?
Okay.
The cards that come out, it's the rattle, the 6 of water, and the 5 of earth. Like with the rattle, it's like with the rattle and the 5 of earth, like being an energy of drought, or with the 5 of earth being the energy of drought, the water present, and then there's more water than there is earth, and the Rainmaker at the bottom of the deck. It feels like Virgo. It's almost like Virgo's reaching the point where they're gonna ask for help. So if Virgo's like been overwhelmed, or if Virgo, it's almost like for Virgo, for a stereotypical Virgo, there is no shortage of things that could be done better. But it's almost very like, you ask not because you have not type of energy. And I think there's a way, Well, I guess we'll get into the elucidation and the clarification and transformation. But it's almost like there may be a way to communicate it. And oh my gosh, I wish you could. It literally just started raining. I wish you could hear it.
Shit, that's cool.
Man. And it's coming down. But it's like Virgo's confession is. It's like it's just the truth of how Virgo's really doing. You can hear the rain. Ooh, see? That's Virgo magic.
When you pulled those cards, I was thinking like, it's like the moment right before it rains, which is hilarious that it actually started to rain. But it's like when the cloud finally bursts open, right? And with the confession, I was thinking it's like Virgo's admission that they actually need help. Is kind of what I was getting off of your cards.
Yeah, and it's very. I think I'm trying to get. Within the door creaks. If y'all see that door fling open, this month is over. I'm putting all the cards are getting burned. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's very that.
Yeah.
All right. So what's our elucidation?
So the elucidation, I pulled 3 cards. So I just split the deck a few times, and I've got actually kind of echoes what you were talking about. So I got death right away, followed by 3 of Swords and 3 of Cups. And so I kind of already gave my elucidation when I was saying that I felt like it's the admission of needing help, but I think it's about Virgo going through a transformative process where, I think certain things are dying and certain things are changing over. And at the same time, I think that causes a lot of pain, right? And so that there's a lot of emotional pain. But I feel like the 3 of Cups can be the social pressure, right? So the social pressure to act as though you still are standing upright, even though you're kind of going through a death and dying process to a degree. And so I think that can be kind of a tall order, especially among. I felt like this could be family and friends for sure. This felt like more closer social ties. So people that you wouldn't want to burden with the fact that you that you feel like death.
Virgo's coming out the gate strong.
Yeah.
Virgo, you are the reason why we're here today.
Yeah. So the next one is clarification. So that kind of becomes like, what can they do?
1 card. Nice. What's this? Nope, it's just the gloss on the back of the cards. Chariot. The Chariot a lot of times is about the balancing of forces, or it's about realizing that things that may seem to be mutually exclusive are not. And so it's almost like you can ask for help and it not compromise who you are in any way. Or you can ask for help and it's like it doesn't mean anything outside of what it is. What did you say clarification is again?
Clarification is what can you do about it.
Oh, well then.
So like how can you take a look at that and so for instance, when you're talking about the Chariot, I think that's such an awesome card for what we're talking about, because it's kind of like
just do it.
Well, I think it's about moving forward, and I also think of the Chariot as being very much about the balancing of 2 forces, right? And so going back to step 2, where I was talking about worrying about the heaviness and things like that being a burden on other people, I could see that being like bringing both your light side and your heavy side right at the same time, and using that as kind of like a catalyst to move forward. And I think it'll actually play into the cards that I pulled for transformation too.
Yeah, and I think because when you were talking about that, there was also something about the Three of Cups that felt really reassuring. Um, so it's very like, when you think that you're being a burden, or when you don't want to be a burden, but then you experience like such love and compassion and like presence from those very people that it makes you feel safe in that vulnerability, and it reaffirms, like, especially if you need that affirmation, it reaffirms that you're not alone and that you don't have to go through everything by yourself, that you don't have to carry everything by yourself. Also, also at the same time, in the same token and along the same vein, it may show you like, and hopefully this isn't necessarily as much the case, but it may show you like people that aren't necessarily great to lean on when you need it, so that it helps you identify spaces where you can be vulnerable. And when you have those spaces where you can be vulnerable, then it might help you to sort of carry out that balance, or like as you continue to move forward, whenever you hit a similar sort of rut, rather than you getting to the point where it becomes so heavy that the confession is this extreme, it's like you can vent it as you're going to keep it from boiling over.
Very nice. So then I got 3 cards for what is the transformation if you take Patrick's recommendations with the Chariot, and your first card, Virgo, is the Ace of Wands. Whoop, mirrored. I'm going the wrong way. Okay, yeah. So it's Ace of Wands, which to me is it's passion and inspiration, right? Finding energy, ultimately. Your second card is Four of Wands, and in this deck specifically is intimacy for me, because you can kind of see, right, the connection between two people. So passion, intimacy, and then finally King of Wands, which to me is being self-assured, and also I get the word magnetism from this card. So the transformation, if you can kind of balance these parts of yourself, you find inspiration, you find intimacy, and you find magnetism within yourself. Pretty worthwhile, I would say.
And I feel like ending, or like with intimacy being a part of the transformation, and the Five of Earth being a part of the confession, like step 1, it's definitely like a full circle transformation moment. So you got that. I love that for Virgo. I hate to see Virgo in a space where, well, I guess that's the thing about transformation, right? Yeah. Hopefully nothing transforms from amazing into absolute hot garbage.
No, I think the point is, right, the whole transformation process is it takes a pain point and moves you through to understand it, what you can actually do about it to help it, and then how it would look on the other side, if you were to deal with those pain points. And so it kind of always ends in a good place.
Yeah, I didn't say it when you suggested it, but this is very scorpionic.
And I love it.
Yeah, it is the steps of transformation. So yeah. Okay.
All right, who's next? Oh, now we gotta wait 10 seconds.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to reconfigure.
I miss
clear
watching
the
shuffle cards sometimes. She just does.
You miss
it
watching
so
Reem?
effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like watching her shuffle and everything just Aqua. Oh,
hey, we should get her on. We should get her on here one of these days too. That'd be fun.
What time is she at work?
call her up.
Right, just mysteriously send her
hey. Yeah, just
Google invite link.
She doesn't even know it.
She's like, hey, like, wow. Where's Russ? Where's he?
Yeah, right.
We'll get him on.
Yeah, just calling up the crew. All right, so we have Aqua. All right, do you want me to start with the confession this time?
Yes.
I like doing 3 cards. That feels like it's working for me, so I'm just gonna do 3. I knew we couldn't just do 4 cards. All right. Cut the deck. All right, Aqua, your confession. Two of Swords, Eight of Swords. Ooh, Five of Cups. Okay. So the confession. So Two of Swords feels like indecision or indecisiveness. It feels like being split. It feels like, to some degree, I would say not exactly knowing. This is going to sound dramatic. Not exactly knowing who you are to some degree. Like, I feel like it's almost a question of identity, where it's like when somebody is trying to debate between what is their authentic self wanting versus what their persona is wanting, right? And so it's like what's underneath the skin. And so I mean, I will get to the rest of the process, as we kind of go through it, but I feel like these types of crossroads are often really good because they kind of move you towards finding an authentic self, but then there's like that splitting feeling, right? I feel like Eight of Swords sort of echoes that to some degree, because it's about what's inside, or what's kind of like there's this shell around it, right? And so both cards kind of have this feeling of a shell surrounding like what's actually inside. Eight of Swords in this deck kind of makes me feel like a little bit shut off, or like something being kind of dormant, and I feel like that's also kind of supported by Five of Cups, which is like like a little bit of a sadness or a melancholy that comes with it. But I feel like it's kind of like a frustrated melancholy, right? So like you're kind of sad, but you're kind of frustrated by the fact that you don't really know like what decision to make, and like exactly how to be true to yourself. And I think that that's the kind of process that you're working for. Oh, there goes a husky. She's had enough of me.
Bye, Lucy.
She's out.
So the elucidation is interesting. It's all good tarot, and it's the High Priestess, the Ace of Water, and the Four of Air. I guess the first thing to notice is that, it's like heavy water up front, and even the air is in a very similar energy. And as you were talking about that, what does the truest self want versus like the persona, it's almost like a feeling of, it's very like called. Or it feels like very, it's not that feeling of like forgetting something and like trying to remember it, but it's very similar in nature. And it feels like Aquarius's attempt to get clarity on the situation is to like try to find peace with that Four of Air card, or try to find an area where like things can sort of like calm down so you can ground and stuff. But it's almost like it feels like that's hindering it more than it's helping in this particular case, because I don't know if it's almost like it's easier to not do something and to try to reach that calm, centered, grounded level space. But the thing for you to actually do might be to like kind of push a little bit, to push through something, to face something, to really try to look at it for all that it's having to show you. Because I think sometimes it's like when we can't feel settled in a situation, that in and of itself is telling us how we truly feel about something.
I feel inclined to ask you, Patrick, where do you think it comes from if you see that in the cards?
I feel like it's just like, to me, it's reading like it's a truth of Aquarius. That's like, it's almost like bubbling to the surface.
Do you
Or
feel like
it's trying to like, because it's almost like it feels almost like something that isn't as suppressed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there was a point in time where Aquarius was like very focused on something not being, it's almost like one of those, like, I don't have time to think about this, I don't have time to do whatever, and so they like suppress that so they can focus on other things.
Oh, so it was like kind of like it was born of like a time when they were in survival mode and didn't have time to. Okay.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
now it's like almost as like there's a pressure that's being alleviated. It's like resurfacing.
Yeah. That's good. That's good info. All right, let me all right, well, you ready for me to move on to the clarification part. So what can Virgo do about it? Let me just do one more shuffle. Or not Virgo, I'm sorry, Aquarius. Still got Virgo on the brain. Okay, what can Aquarius do about it? 3 shuffles, 3 cards. What can they do about it? 1, 2, 3. King of Pentacles. That feels like very like grounding, anchoring. I'll show you the image in a second. Queen of Wands. That has something to do with other people. Like it feels like community, tribe, family, something like that. Oh, and then you have Princess of Pentacles too. Okay, so you have 3 people here, and I do feel like other people somehow play a role in this, and I felt like to some degree this is almost a little bit like a mirroring effect. That there's something like this is like in the territory of like pay attention to what the other people in your life can tell you or give you information on in your life, almost like you need so like to become conscious of something that's unconscious, it's like you need the reflections, the thoughts, or even so like even just the astuteness to pay attention to your thoughts and feelings about the things that other people do. It's very much like being super aware of what your projections are. I feel like that's super pertinent in the Queen of Wands. Like even if you look in the back of the card, it's like these are all projected images of her. And so I feel like the recommendation here or the clarification of this is pay attention to the projections that you have for other people. I feel like King of Pentacles is about grounding and anchoring, but I feel like Princess of Pentacles is kind of about that too. It's almost like these 2 cards like would appear in this type of way, or like this would be a continuation of the King of Pentacles. Like he's anchored, but then he's also it's like he's grounded to this is like grounded to lower consciousness, but also tapping into higher consciousness, if that makes any sense. So there's like that part of you that's aware of your underworld, and then there's that part of you that's aware of like the higher world. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm not really exactly getting to what I want to say out of that. But hopefully it kind of comes through what my point is. Yeah, like the images that I see when I look at this, I think about it as like somebody standing, like the old saying of roots that go down to hell, but branches that reach the heavens. It's like it's that kind of thing. So sorry, it's kind of the best that I can put it into words, but I think that's the thing to be aware of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I have the mental. I'm gonna do my best.
You got it.
Let's get some transformation. I've been awake for hours. Okay, it's fine. Like I was like that because I heard the thunder. Hey Corey, hey Steph. I saw y'all come in, but I didn't want to interrupt. As you're talking about like the other people, the first card that came out for transformation is the medicine wheel. And like you were saying, it's almost very like when there are things inside of us that we don't see, like sometimes we need to see it reflected in another in order to see it within ourselves. But it also, like there's a quote that it's along the lines of a friend is someone who sings us the song of our hearts when we've forgotten the lyrics. Um,
Ah,
and I almost, there's a piece of that that sort of came through. And then we also have Justice and the King of Fire is the last card. You got the Queen of Fire, so I was like, or the Queen of Wands. Um,
that's right.
and so this is the part where I try to like remember what you just said. um,
Don't think about what I said. Just read your cards.
there's almost, it's like, honestly, it feels like a little bit of like when there's someone in your life that sees, I don't want to say someone that sees you as your potential, um, because it feels like this is a little bit more grounded in like who you are. So then it's almost like there may be people in your life, like I feel like if you were to hear how people think about you, or if you were to see yourself as other people see you, then you might look at that as like your potential, but they would see it as things that you already do, and ways that you already like be. And when you were talking about the roots and hell and branches that stretch towards the heavens, for some reason, or like in some way, it's making me think of like justice in this medicine wheel. Um, and so it's almost like there is a not self cleaning cycle, but like a self transformative cycle in your ability to like pull things almost, or it's like there's something within you. Maybe it's something within you that you'll notice and you'll realize. And it's something that you'll see as like present. And maybe it's others that help you see it, but almost like it could be others that help you see it in a way where it gives you, or it helps you see that there's a little bit more constancy to your being. Like, because it's almost like you may see yourself as like disjointed, but it's almost like through the mirror of others, both in ways that affirm and that don't, it helps connect all of this together until you can sort of see yourself more wholly and more fully. And then there's something about this King of Fire that like it reaches out to that Queen of Wands, and like his the heart is the thing that I'm really seeing here. Um, and so it could almost be like it depends on what each of us needs in particular, um, what our experiences will be and how we reach a transformation. But it's almost very like, in learning to love another, I learned to love myself type of energy, or in like learning to be there for another, or learning to have patience for another, or learning to sit through difficulty with another. Like you learn how to extend that same kindness, compassion, patience to you. And then it feels like that brings in a level of calmness and groundedness that allows for things to sort of like rise and fall as they may. And then it's almost like at that point everything falls into place in the absence of maybe like a pressure that you might put on yourself, or a pressure that others put on you. It's like with all of that almost muted, it just like it lines it lines up, and the stairway is not missing any steps or something.
I was getting, when the cards that you pulled, I was getting like a big heart healing kind of vibe off of it, like some kind of big like heart cleansing, heart clearing, something like that. Like it came with all the images of like kind of this cloudiness around the heart, but then the transformation process in this would be to clear all of that out, and it would be kind of like a heart opening. Nice. Big stuff. We're coming out the gates.
I'm like, maybe I just need to relax into it a little. But the weather's doing stuff. I don't know if y'all heard the thunder when it started rolling in, but now it's like, oh, the sun is out.
Oh, you're doing great, man. You're doing great. I just was throwing it out there because that's what I was seeing while you were talking. You know?
Yeah. I'm just like glad to hear that I'm not absent.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're the man.
Who
we got next?
Thank you. Who's next? Who
next?
Oh,
this
snap, I didn't even think about using the chat. The video may lag, but chat is immediate. Taurus, oof. I don't know if I'm ready for Taurus yet.
Do you want to start with do you want to do Libra first? Because Elaine kind of picked one first. Do you want to do Libra first?
Okay.
Then we'll do Taurus next.
Alright. I just gotta pick the ones that I do in Taurus so that I don't bias them.
Alright, we'll do Libra. So I'm not sure.
I can change it right here. I don't have to click into the thing and open the window and then change it and then close the window. It's like a little. I feel like I'm learning so much today. Mercury well, Libra isn't ruled by Mercury, but Mercury is like teaching. I feel like, I don't know if this will apply for Libra in any way, but I feel like it's through things not working that I'm learning stuff from you and like little features of the program that I just never would have used if everything went the way that I typically sort of go about doing it.
That is a deep insight, sir.
Yeah, I'm full of them. Some people would say I'm full of.
Me too. Do you want to do the confession?
Yes.
Libra's confession.
All right, Libra.
Confession of the Libro.
First, this card was at the split when I cut it. First card is the Queen of Earth. Second card is the Ace of Fire. Oof. Third card is the Eight of Earth. Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind immediately is like, it feels like Libra's getting bored of something. And it's interesting. I feel like boredom with something is interesting for the Queen of Earth because the Queen of Earth invests so much and nurtures so much and tends so much and provides everything that she knows how to in order for the thing to I mean, I'm sure this isn't a one-step transformation. But it's like the Queen of Earth does all of that for the thing, whatever she's nurturing. But it's like it does it in a way. I'm sorry. I thought I heard whispering in your mic. I was like, they're coming for me.
No, I'm just shuffling while you're talking. Don't let me mess you up.
But it's like, that's the thing about the Queen of Earth energy, though. It's like the Queen of Earth, she does that, so eventually one day the thing will be capable of sustaining itself. And so maybe it could be a little less boredom, and a little more like I've done everything that I need to do to prepare this thing or to help this person basically stand on their own 2 feet. And now it's almost like it's time for the Queen of Earth to pour back into herself. Um, a little bit. So I don't know if, again, Libra's confession, it's almost like kind of getting bored of something. It's almost kind of feeling like they've done everything that they need to do for others or to give something or someone a good foundation and a solid start. And then it's like, and then it's like it's the music and the Eight of Earth that's coming off of this instrument that might be a cello. uh, that it's now it's almost making me think it may also be that you discover something that you enjoy within the process of nurturing others. Can you elucidate that in any way?
Of course I can. Yeah, I just don't want to cut you off, man. So I got 3 cards. I of course got Justice. So I got Libra's card right off the bat, and so it seems like it's drawing my attention to decisions of head versus heart, right? Or trying to balance decisions of head and heart. You have 5 of Wands, which is my big inner conflict card. So that kind of makes a little bit of sense, right? That there's some kind of inner conflict because it's like it's the difference between like the things that you should do, how you're supposed to act, decisions that look good on paper, things that would be logical, what would be like a rational conclusion, versus where you're sort of drawn to emotionally. And I think that it's like kind of the classic left brain versus right brain sort of issue. And then I feel like a big part of this too is the 7 of Cups, which is about having a lot of different choices as well. And so it just seems like maybe it's even more complicated than just head versus heart. It just might mean that there's a lot of different choices, and to some degree, it might be like the paradox of choice, right? Like decision paralysis, because there's a lot of different things that you could do or a lot of different roads that you could go down. But it seems like there's a difficulty finding which way to follow. I kind of keep getting hit with that idea of a lot of this has to do with like younger years conditioning kind of stuff, where it's almost like when you have a voice in your mind that's not necessarily yours, like where it's your mother's or your father's or your aunts or your uncles, or it's like some other important person or some other important authority figure who would maybe have like questioned some of the decision making that you want to make, where they would say like, well, that's that's not a very smart decision, or Libra, you should probably play it safe and take the safe decision, or something like that. A lot of it almost has like a little bit of like a self-esteemy kind of quality to it, where you could be questioning like, well, am I like, am I good enough for this, or so on and so forth, right? A lot of it kind of seems like self-doubt, self-confidence kind of territory, where it's almost like it's kind of taking the flavor of like your heart wants to go after something, right? But your head's kind of like, well, play it safe. Maybe you shouldn't go after this. Maybe you should, something like that. So that's the kind of sense that I'm getting from this, like definitely like a younger years self-esteem kind of quality. And the thing that comes through to me is like early 20s or something like that. But yeah, a lot of indecision. And also too, I don't know how this plays in just yet. You were talking about the music quality or like the hearing component to that, and I'm picking up on that a lot in the 5 of Wands. There's like all this kind of vascular stuff going on around their ears, and again, maybe it's like messages that you've heard or like the words that you've heard other people say, even if it wasn't necessarily that somebody was putting you down. Maybe just like other people's thought processes about how they look at themselves could also really affect how you think about yourself and like what you're capable of and what you can do. So what can they do about it, Mr. Patrick?
It's interesting that you mentioned the like other people's voices in Libra's head because so the cards that came out, it's the Nine of Earth, the Serpent, and the Council. Um, and it is like because of the like the Council feels like it represents other people, and it's like it represents norms, it represents conditioning, it represents what everybody else does, it represents what other people say that you should do. And then the serpent feels like the thing that tempts you. I mean, going almost a little biblical, it feels like the thing that tempts you away from all of that. And it does so in a way where you almost discover what it is that you truly sort of think and what it is that you truly feel. And that's like the solitary energy of the Nine of Pentacles. It's her ability typically to stand on her own 2 feet. But if it's something that like you haven't necessarily engaged with or done yet, it brings a lot of like fortuitous energy because she is so well provided for and because she is so abundant. And there's something about the flower that she's holding, and it's almost like outside of the ever pervading what's that gaze of the council, outside of their like opinions and constant almost demands on Libra, it feels like it creates enough space for that flower to like begin to bloom. And so it's almost very like it speaks to the difficulty that something has of acquiring and gaining enough nutrients to grow in the shadow of something else or someone else. And almost in that way, it's like there are projected shadows from like other people. And so I don't know anything about Carl Jung or
No, go for it, man.
Jungian shadow, but it almost makes me think a little bit more of I feel like the neurons are almost connecting on something that you told me one time. Something about like the repressed self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I feel like I just went.
Yeah. No, so you're saying that this has to connect with the person's repressed self, which is based in all the things that I guess, all the ways in which they've kind of chosen head over heart, so to speak.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
also feels like it's like if someone else's shadow self could invade your like the domain of your psyche,
Mm-hmm.
like it would be someone else's shadow invading Libra psyche to repress a part of Libra that Libra like wouldn't naturally repress.
Oh, okay.
And so then it does become it's like when everything is in shadow, especially if it isn't too bright, it's almost like hard to make out like a feature. It's almost like seeing a silhouette, but it's more amorphous. But there's something about taking opportunity somehow to discover what it is that you like Libra truly feels that begins to like characterize shadows and it begins to give shape to a lot of things that could be kind of foggy or easy to be like, well, is that me? Is that somebody else? in a way where it's like it makes it easier to identify, like, oh, like that is not my shape. It's shaped like a triangle and I'm a circle. So that's the, that's triangle, that's square. Like those things aren't me. And then it's like it reduces their ability to repress that within Libra. But then at the same time, there may be like Libra's actual repressed self that they would find after the rest sort of like almost like after the shadow is almost dispersed like a mist.
Yeah, I thought actually the cards that I got kind of play into what you're talking about a lot. So I got the first card I got for transformation was Hanged Man, and with this one, this mirror effect keeps getting me. So I don't know if you can actually see this too well or not, but this guy gets hung upside down, and like all the stuff falls out of his pockets. And I just was thinking about how this transformation may initially feel like a loss or like some kind of great loss. Like there might be things that drop off or things that kind of fall out your pockets when you get turned upside down. But I think that the point of all this though is that you get Ace of Cups and then you get Sacred Clown, the Fool. So Ace of Cups obviously has a lot to do with healing and then like feeling a sense of fulfillment, right? And so it's kind of like newness and like new emotions, especially paired with the Fool. But what I really like about using this deck for this particular reading to have the Sacred Clown talks a lot about integrating that part of your shadow self. So it's about bringing that kind of part of yourself back into the fold in some type of healthy way, because it's like it brings some type of end to those conflict cards, which was a 5 of Wands, right? So it's like it brings an end to this inner conflict by bringing these two parts of yourself back together, and because of that, it's like a re-energization. That's a word. It's like reinvigorating emotional or psychic energy, which like totally makes sense in context of what Patrick was just saying about the repression. It's like once you free the repressed energies, it's like if we were going to put it into like a more like metaphysical kind of idea, if we're talking about like chakras or something like that, this is like kind of the classic idea of clear the blockage and then it's like there'll be a free flow of energy. That's the kind of thing that I'm getting from this. So that's the value of doing that work.
I didn't necessarily expect to be going there today. Let
I don't think so
alone
either.
with the Rob Kenobi.
With the Rob Kenobi.
The droids that you are looking for are right here.
These are not the readings that you are looking for.
Oof. Somebody say not Taurus next?
I think Taurus is next.
We haven't heard from Kirsty. Did Kirsty pick one? No, I'm kidding. Currently Taurus. Oof.
He already said currently Taurus.
Wow.
So I got Taurus's confession.
Okay.
Ooh, that one just came out on its own. Starman. Okay. Well, it seems like they want to come out this way, so I'm just going to pull 3 like this. 6 of Pentacles. That one wants to come out. Queen of Swords. Okay, so Taurus, the way that this comes out for your confession, so you got the Starman, which is the Magician, you got the 6 of Pentacles, and you have the Queen of Swords. And so it almost felt a little bit like Queen of Swords felt like an obstinance, right? Like almost like a control, like how trying to control how things happen, or trying to control an outcome was the sort of vibe. 6 of Pentacles, I felt a little bit like somebody not knowing how to create something without it being given to them first, or something like that is how I felt. So it's almost like not knowing how to start something without being shown how to do it, which, so like this is almost coming through a little bit Hierophant to me. Like there's a traditional way, or there's a set way to do things. I don't know how to do things if I haven't been shown the way to do them. So this is the confession, right? So like this is the feeling. You feel as though you don't know how to do things unless somebody shows you how to do it, or there's like a formulaic way to go about doing it. And so maybe if you're feeling a little bit stuck, this is kind of the place that you feel stuck.
So,
All yours.
for the elucidation, you have the Ace of Air. I mean, which, when it comes to elucidation, I was almost tempted to say when it comes to elucidation, the Ace of Air is perfect. But then I'm almost now like, well, the Ace of Air could be anything. Because it's so undefined by nature, or because it's so representative, or it's almost the depository of truth. I don't even know if I'm using that those words right, but it's like because it's this depository. Is it depository or repository? Depository, right? It is this
Well, it's
place where truth
not a suppository.
collects. Taurus, you need a truth suppository. It'll clean you right out. You won't need anybody to tell you nothing.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
But it's because it's this place where so many different truths gather that it doesn't necessarily, if you're looking for specifics, it feels like it doesn't necessarily offer that. Now, the saving grace to this is the Queen of Water, but it also feels like the last card is the Hunter. So now it's almost like it's revealing itself to be this, almost like there's a feeling of intuition or a knowing that you might have. But so it's almost like you're listening to different people, like you're exploring, you're going around trying to find the thing that fits. And depending on how far you go along with that, you may find yourself almost walking a path that's not yours to walk, but also at the same time, it feels like that vague knowing, because the Queen of Water is almost inherently vague. You might like almost double down on things like, oh, it can't be that, and it's not this. But then it's almost like it could very well sometimes end up being beneficial. And the Hunter feels like it just speaks to almost the amount. Oh, I don't want to say fervor, but fervor is kind of the word that comes to my mind.
It's the fervor of the day.
I've never been to a Baskin Robbins.
31 fervors.
Yeah, and that's Taurus is apparently trying all of them. It would be the ice cream that gets Taurus. It's understandable,
right?
Taurus. I get it now.
So tasty.
Yeah, that's what. And then it's almost like it feels like there's almost a borderline obsession. Well, I guess fervor is the word that I use, or the word that came out, to the point where it's like that stereotype of, or that characterization of Taurus being not necessarily a glutton, but like loving to consume things. It's almost like that carries over to this dynamic now. Now it's like it's trying to get as much exposure to as many things, trying to hear from as many people, trying to try so much that it reaches the point where what is natural within Taurus begins to succeed.
So one of the things that I was really kind of picking up from what you were saying is that a lot of it seems like, um, going back to the original confession, right? The like there being a right and a wrong way or a traditional way to follow things. It's almost like what you were saying has a lot to do with, um, like when instinct or intuition pulls pulls you in another direction, right? But then like almost kind of having that fighting with the instinct that's kind of pulling you off the beaten path, and then almost like doubting, that that would be the way to go about things because that's not how other people have done it, or that's not how the people who came before me did it, or something to that effect. um, so the cards that I got for transformation for Taurus, I got the sun first and foremost, which is about illumination, right? So like the transformation. So if you do the steps, right, that we've just talked about, and so if you take the advice, right, or you take the, if you take for a second that, following, following impulses that take you off the beaten path, that those can be beneficial, you find ultimately the sun, right? So you find illumination. You have the 10 of cups, and then you also have the 8 of cups. And so this 8 of cups always feels so distracted to me. So it's almost like the illumination, um it's almost like recognizing what's really important. So 10 of cups here, it has a family sort of depiction, but it doesn't, I don't feel like it's exclusive to family, although I think for a lot of Taurians it would be family. But it's almost like somehow coming back around full circle to the things that actually fulfill you. So the pull, I think, in a lot of ways, like breaking from the course of tradition, will somehow bring you back to what's fulfilling and what's actually important to you, and it'll kind of pull you out of this distracted sort of headspace. So it's almost like the traditional ways of doing things, I want to say they're confusing you. Like you're kind of looking at it like, oh, like this just doesn't really feel right. Like again, this is like another point of inner conflict. And then, as I'm saying that, I physiologically feel like this really kind of strong sensation of like, oh, like it feels like it feels like reflux or something like that, like in with the stomach and the, yeah, I don't know, like heartburn or something like that, where these possible choices give you this sensation of almost heartburn, like, almost as if your body is having this resounding response of trying to like force some of the things that you've had to choke down out of your body. Like, I feel like when Patrick picked up on things like fervor, and I was saying about the Hierophant and so on and so forth, a lot of this might actually be kind of like juxtaposed with some of your religious upbringing or some of like the religious messages. And that's not necessarily to say that it could just be classic institutionalized kind of religion. I feel like um, it could also be things like new age belief systems too, right? Like you're like, I could see this playing out like somebody looking at things like, I don't know, say they were watching like a lot of Abraham Hicks or something like that. It's like, well, like she said, if I did my gratitude journal and I did my affirmations, like it would work out this way or something. But then like going through that traditional sort of process of like quote unquote manifesting something or whatever, because it's not working, it's almost like it's like a bodily rejection, if that makes any sense. But anyways, with that illumination, it's like you kind of come back to, like to your own priority system instead of trying to do things in a like in a prescribed way, if that makes any sense. So I feel like a lot of this is about, Taurus becoming their own Hierophant instead of like being an adherent to someone else as the learned one or the enlightened one and kind of becoming self-illuminated and self-directed, which I think is like a super healthy and awesome thing.
So was that the transformation?
Yeah.
We skipped
Yeah,
clarification. You don't get it, Taurus.
Oh, did I really? I'm sorry. Okay, that's the clarification then.
No,
You do
that's
the
the
transformation.
because I feel like because when the sun came out, I was like, and you mentioned its ability to illuminate things. I was like, oh well, clarification to a T.
So it's the clarification and the transformation.
Yeah.
Do you want to pull a couple cards for transformation?
No, I feel like you got it. I just,
Sorry,
like I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
I got lost in it, man. I
Okay.
got lost in it.
Yeah, it feels like very. Because I feel like if I were to pull a few cards, then I would run the risk of becoming or standing in the place of that Hierophant that Taurus would then have to reject anyway. Ultimately. Or not. I ain't saying that Taurus necessarily got to reject the Hierophant, but you get what I'm getting at.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. Without me actually setting it on the table. You know. All right, who's next?
Who next?
Who's next? Who's next? Sandra? I saw Holly say Sandra. All right, Sandra, what is your confession?
Just straight up. We're getting into it.
Ooh. Is it Leo or Aries? Like, Aries popped into my mind,
Yeah.
but the Emperor in this deck is a lion. So I don't know if it's Aries or Leo. We'll go Aries. Why not?
Okay.
No one else said anything. So, Aries. I feel like Aries is ready to go.
Yeah.
Aries was like, oh, like that thought that you just thought, like that was me communicating. Why did I almost want to say hypnotically? That's not the word. Telepathically. That's me communicating telepathically with you. That was your clue. These are my cards. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
The Emperor, the Nine of Air, and the Three of Earth. This is your confession. Oof. This is almost. It's almost like it's making me think of like a feeling that others are incompetent. Because it's, even though it's not here, because it's like with the Nine of Air having all of these, like all of the birds around the Nine of Air, to me, they feel like they symbolize a lot of like different thoughts and ideas and stuff like that. And the Three of Earth is a card of cooperation and collaboration. But for some reason, it's feeling like this Three of Earth isn't collaborating. And then with Aries, I mean, Aries is the Emperor, but also with the Emperor card coming out, there's a very like self-assuredness. And there's a very like, it's not necessarily my way or the highway, but it's like in Aries' world right now, Aries knows best. And I guess the interesting, or I don't know if interesting is necessarily the word, but it's like if you sit in a position of truly believing that you know best, then it's almost like you're not even open to the cooperation and collaboration that you're requesting. Because the energy of the Three of Earth is like everyone has a seat at the at the round table. Not this. They're like there's no head, there's no tail. Everyone has a part to play. Everyone's opinion matters. Everyone's input is needed. But you already feel like you know everything and you have all the answers, and there's nothing that you have to gain. It's like you're looking for people to just do what you say, or you're looking for things to just go your way, rather than being open to all of what Earth has to offer.
Yeah, like a kind of a real distrusting sort of vibe. Like a, like kind of like wanting to, like wanting help from others, or wanting even just like connection with other people, but then being like very fearful and skeptical of them or something like that is the kind of sense that I get from it. Let's do a little bit of elucidation. Okay. So we got 6 of Cups passed. 2 of Wands. Like stranded. Okay. Ace of Swords. Yeah, so Ace of Swords comes through feeling super cold to me. Like it feels very it's like too objective almost. Like it comes through a little bit too pointed or a little bit too harsh. 2 of Wands gives me that feeling of like feeling sort of left on your own, and 6 of Cups is the pass. And so it's like, is this something like you had an abandonment experience or something like that, or you had a point where people either bailed on you or abandoned you or left you? Ooh, 2 of Wands comes with a like a high and dry sort of feeling, like you got left high and dry. And so now I think that there's a pretty strong defensiveness when it comes to like the scrutiny of other people's thoughts and opinions, like their thoughts and opinions, but also just their basic level of trustworthiness, right? Yeah, a lot of like abandonment fears kind of come through to me on this one. um six of Cups in the pictures, if you look at the images, it looks very childlike. And so I don't know if that's just talking about like really early abandonment experiences. Now, one of the things that's important to note is that sometimes you can feel abandoned without actually being abandoned. And so we're kind of going into the territory of like mommy and daddy stuff, right? Like, like where if you had a parent who was like maybe a little bit neglectful, or didn't really give their full attention, and so like you kind of felt like you were left to your own devices. But it doesn't necessarily have to be parents. This can also, I think it would probably also connect pretty easily to like relationship issues, or even so like times. The third one that's popping into my head is like being abandoned by a mentor. It makes me think of like being abandoned by a boss or something like that, somebody who you thought kind of had your best interest, and they were like a support figure or like an encouragement figure, but then they kind of like left you high and dry, or threw you under the bus, or blamed you for something that wasn't necessarily yours to be taken. Like a pretty unpleasant experience, or a grouping of pretty unpleasant experiences, where it was like you were looking for something to be given that wasn't necessarily given, and now because of that I think you have a lot of doubt for people. So that's like the protective factor. I think that if we were looking at this really psychologically, it would be like that's the defense mechanism, right? You scrutinize people so you don't get hurt again.
That is. I'm about to cry. I didn't think we'd be going here today. Oh my gosh.
We're getting into the mommy and daddy issues, man.
I'm like, oh gosh. Okay.
Oh Christ. This is too much.
It's fine. If it, whatever needs to come out,
Yeah.
So 3 cards came out. I'm not going to take them, but I am going to show you what they are. It's the Sorcerer, Thunder, and Taming the Wind. What? Oh. See, I was going to keep them, but then I wasn't going to keep them. Now I think I might keep them. The Sorcerer, especially coming off of what you were saying, the Sorcerer, it feels like this, like... It's the energy of the person who becomes extremely resourceful. And who is almost like the epitome of this self-made person, but it's motivated by hurt and pain. And so it's very like, it's almost like the one that becomes accustomed to doing everything on their own. And again, I think the positive side of this for Aries feels like Aries has experienced success with some of the things that they've done, and Aries has done a great job of getting themselves where they are now. Like when you started that early into like you going into the elucidation, it was just the question of like, Aries, who failed you? And that's when that question came to my mind, that's when it kind of like hit me in the heart, and I was like, oof. And then you kept going, and it was like twisted, and I was like, Aries, no. And so it's like you get really good. Oh no. Woo! The dam is about to burst. If it happens, it happens. It's fine. It's okay to cry.
Damn right it is.
So it's like Aries becomes really good at doing a lot of things on their own. And this thunder, at first I was gonna say, like, there's such a heavy tower energy behind this thunder. And it almost feels like it's this point. It's almost like maybe it's like Aries finally gets their grounding. They finally reach that point where it's like they're used to doing everything on their own, and it's starting to pay off. But then it feels like thing after thing after thing, event after event after event comes in, and like it like tears away at so much of what like Aries has built. But because it's thunder, it's almost like it doesn't necessarily always do it in a physical way. It almost like hits Aries. It's like it hits Aries where it hurts. And so like it feels like very like emotional, obviously. But it's almost at the same time too, it's like if it was a failed relationship, or if it was a failed, like a mentor or something, then it feels like there's something within Aries that like in that building and in that resourcefulness, you come across things to help you heal from it. And so like you heal from it and things are going great. You get a new opportunity. It feels like what you manifested. And then it's almost this energy, like the same thing happens again. Or it's like something, and at this point, it's almost like it could be one of those things where a fear of a reoccurrence or it's like a fear of a reoccurrence might cause Aries to hyperfixate on certain things and to just completely not notice other things. And so, and it again, like it feels like it starts to creep in when things get really good. But I feel like it would also make sense for the Aries that experienced like someone not being there when they should have been in whatever capacity. It's like the closer it gets to the ideal, or the closer it gets, like the more that fear, it's like the heavier the fear gets, because now the thing that you have, that you feel you have to lose, it gets more and more real.
I think that's super deep, man. So it's like it's about it's like Aries' sense of impending doom with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. You got me. Oof. Oof.
But it's almost like I'm interested to see what the transformation is here. Because even in the clarification, it feels like if you can harness, if you can tap into, if you can almost stay present long enough as things are beginning to like shake. And I hope you're not an Aries that's afraid of thunder, because I mean it's coming right, and like she's not even expecting it. It's her back. Her back is turned towards this stampede of buffalo. She's almost like, again, like basking in the rainbow, and the rainbow, I guess we're getting biblical again. The rainbow was God's promise to never flood the earth again. And then the thunder starts to rumble, and you're like, oh my gosh, you promised, you promised. And it's like, it's the divine. It's like, you know, you do all this like woo-sa, love and light, even shadow work, and you're feeling good. You're feeling solid. And then it's something that, I don't know if the floodgates actually come or if it's a fear. I mean, if it's a fear, it feels like even if it's a fear with a pain that was that strong, it might as well be real. Because it's almost one of those, like, you can't convince the brain that what it is seeing, like, it's not, or what it's experiencing. It's like, it's one of those where it's so visceral. But it feels, it's almost like, it makes me think of, I think it's the Page of Swords. I think it's the back of the Page of Swords and the vice versa. It makes me think of, so, like, the Court of Swords and the Abyss Tarot that I don't have anymore. Because in this Taming the Wind, it's almost like there's a single lark that comes in the middle of all of it, that gets you to, oh look, she turned around. Hey.
Nice.
That gets you to, like, it begins to get you to the other side of whatever it is that has been affecting you for so long. And it's almost like it's like the sound of the thunder is actually the beat of the drum, and all of the ways that, like, the drum is associated with, like, healing and, like, purging and, like, all of the positive, like, associations of the drum. It's like, that's what the thunder actually is. But I don't know what the transformation is, so it's all conjecture and hearsay, and you don't have to believe a word I say, Aries, because I don't know what you've been through.
The transformation, I think, is actually kind of cool. Like, it's I would say it's a relatively painful transformation. So two of the cards that came with this is the Nine of Swords and the Three of Swords, right? So it's a lot of fear, and I think it's a lot of emotional pain. But again, like, we're talking about defense mechanisms and armor, right? And so it's like kind of the armor that you hold up. I think the thing that you're going to realize through this transformation, though, Aries, is the illusions, right? So this isn't stated as an invalidation of the past, because in the past you did have that event or whatever series of events of abandonment or you know, like, being failed, right? I think Patrick did a really good job of just saying, like, there was a point where you were failed, and so, like, that is very real. The issue is that I think you are projecting that, what would you say, you're projecting that past failure onto current people. And so I think that lesson keeps coming round and round, right? For opportunities for you to kind of, like, decipher what is you being failed versus what is the old emotional baggage that hasn't necessarily been relieved just yet. So, so actually what we're kind of talking about is that, like, yes, it will be painful, but ultimately I see the transformation as being a major catharsis. So it's like, it's going to be a major emotional release. And I think once you have that major emotional release, you won't find yourself with the sense of impending doom. Like, naturally, if somebody fails you, or if somebody doesn't show up for you, or they treat you badly, or, like, whatever it is, it's going to be painful in that moment, but at least you won't be sitting there with like the anticipatory pain of somebody hurting you, if that makes any sense. Because like pain isn't necessarily the problem. Pain is like a natural reaction to circumstances or events. I think what's really getting you is the anticipatory pain or the anticipatory hurt of what you expect people to do. And so I don't know if it's necessarily so much that you're going to be like more trusting of other people, but I think you're just going to be more neutral about other people, almost like going from guilty until proven innocent to more of like a innocent till proven guilty, or like at the very least like something very neutral, right? Like where you kind of look at people with a like, we'll see how this kind of plays out. But I think that the sense of like going through life with that heavy armor of negative anticipation, I think leaves you feeling a lot more withdrawn and isolated than you'd like to be. And so I think this transformation gives you more opportunity for better connections, and at the very least an alleviation of some level of anxiety.
I feel at peace. And I feel like I kind of like that the transformation didn't bring this like pendulum swing like to the other extreme. Like right. You're gonna go from not being able to trust anybody to just trusting everybody. You know, because it's not that it isn't realistic, but I think that can also, especially if the pendulum swings as extreme as it may be now into the other direction, then we start to place more trust in, we start to see people as better. It's not like better than they are, but it impacts our ability to make accurate observations and decisions and stuff like that. Yeah. When we try to kind of sort of force the healing or force the good feeling that we want.
Well, I think like in pop psychology, there's kind of been this huge thing of, you know, it's got like, I kind of call it like hashtag vulnerability, you know, like where it's like you know, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, like then there's some points that I like that she makes, but so like a real popular pop psychology person is Brene Brown, and she's kind of been around for a little bit, but like, you know, and she kind of works out of this like, you know, like this sort of be vulnerable with everybody, you know, so on and so forth. And I think that philosophy, I think in a lot of ways can kind of get people hurt. I think that if you're going to be vulnerable with somebody, I think it's something that's worth, you know, having some kind of intention behind, or like at least kind of feeling through like what your sense is of the trustworthiness of that person. But I think that like when we're talking about the moon and we're talking about projections, like having that sense of I can trust all people, that's a projection, as well as I can't trust anybody, that's also a projection, right? And so it's not really taking like the unique circumstances of the person standing in front of you at that given time. So like kind of like you were saying about like actually having that clarity of not it's almost like not seeing people through the belief of how you should act, and kind of having like a more intuitive straightforward connection with people like in real time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that is not the B word that I thought you were going to say, you know, just to be fair.
What B word? What B word?
You said like not to see through the belief, and I thought you were going to say bull.
Oh, I'm being on. Well, you don't swear, so I'm trying to be on good behavior. I
mean, you can. I would never tell you that you can't. So.
Oh well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I'm trying to respect your space.
But it makes me think, and I don't know if it, because you know, I've seen like 2 Brene Brown specials, and I love them. And I can't remember if it was her or if it was somebody else within, because I don't know how like popular. Well, I feel like there's a lot like of psychology terms that really seem to float, like narcissists, gaslighting, stuff like that. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but it was something somewhere where it was like how sometimes we confuse oversharing with vulnerability, and like some other things with. Well, it was that one in particular, so I don't know.
Yeah,
just think
I
it's off.
definitely like some of her stuff. I think she's got there's a lot of good things to say. And maybe it's just like being misconstrued as, you know, like, I guess that sense of one must always be vulnerable. But I just think that there's something to be said about kind of balancing that out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know if, I guess in my interpretation, yeah, right, like being like a self-made person, because I just think that whenever you start to operate from like a static kind of I must always do this, you know what I mean, like I think that that doesn't leave enough real life dynamic, you know, to navigate through, because the everything is like a unique situation, and it's kind of like you have to sort of feel the pulse of what you're doing versus working out of like an arbitrary rule of what is healthy, in the same way that if I don't know, like with like vitamins or something, certain nutrients are really healthy, but if you have a certain um, condition or something like that, well, maybe too much calcium might not be good for your kidneys or something like that. So you kind of have to play things by ear a little bit more than that, in my opinion.
You got to be able to account for the complexities of
Yeah,
life. That's what.
yeah, it's a much shorter way of saying it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, not to say that that's what I'm all about, but.
Like, no,
I just, I don't know.
my Taurus moon is like, well, your Taurus moon. I don't have a Taurus moon.
You know what they say: variety is a spicy life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's
Who we got
source.
next?
Okay, here we go. Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Cancer? No. I'm not even keeping track of who we've done.
Me neither.
Let's
I know
do.
we haven't done.
Oh, we didn't even do Gemini one time. I was gonna say let's do Gemini again, but
Let's do.
we haven't even done Gemini yet. Leo? Okay.
Zanoni said we should do Leo. Let's see. Is it my turn to do a confession or your turn?
It is my turn because you did the transformation.
Yes.
Yeah, so the confession.
Yes.
Wait, we just did Aries, right?
Yeah, we did Aries.
I did Aries' confession. I'm
Did
so
you?
confused. Yeah, because it was the Emperor. I was like, here we go, Aries, right? I don't know anything anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, I'll do the confession.
But
for
how does
Leo.
that? Yeah, because you just did the transformation. You talked last.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there goes my brain. Oof.
Yeah, I talked last, so you talk first this time.
Yeah.
You do the confession.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh. Uh-oh. So the Three of Cups and Flow. Okay, well maybe this is it. The Three of Cups and Flow are the first two cards that come out for Leo's confession. Three of Water, sorry, it's the Three of Water. Oh gosh. So it feels like there's a little bit of manipulation here. Just because, like, there's such a fluidity in this Three of Water, and there's a lot of fluidity in Flow, but it's almost like okay, maybe it isn't manipulation. I mean, is this a Leo that feels like they're being manipulated by the divine because it's like this is happening and that's happening and like the universe is conspiring?
In a negative way? Or in a
I
positive
feel like
way?
it's perceived in a negative way.
Oh, okay.
Is it actually negative? Maybe not. Would it humble a proud Leo if they need to be humbled? Probably, definitely. Would it like push a Leo into the spotlight if it's something that they tend to avoid? Because not every Leo is the same. Probably. So it's almost like it's conspiring in a way to position Leo However, they would avoid it. But it's almost like when you're running from one thing and it chases you right into you know, and then you're like, oh crap.
Out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah. And I think it's also because this. Well, I was gonna say it's because the Seven of Swords is here. Cause so now I'm almost kind of low key feeling like it's a good thing. Because this Seven of Swords, it's like this mask is making me think of the blindfold of the Eight of Swords. But it's almost like it plays on how things take the path of least resistance, and flow is here. So it's like there's a lot of least resistance pathways to a thing that Leo has a lot of resistance against, or a lot of resistance to. And so it's almost like when it leads Leo to the thing that Leo's been semi actively avoiding, there's a feeling of like shock and betrayal. It's like, how could you lead me here? How could I be? And it's almost like, I don't know if there's a. I don't know if it's almost like in Leo's mind, Leo fails before they even try, so they're already defeated before they even like do the thing or see what's up. It's like they don't even want to hear it. It's very like fingers in the ears, la 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 la. I can't hear you. Eyes shut. I don't want to see.
You're gonna laugh so hard when I tell you the cards I got.
I will go for it.
Oh no, I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just like, so it's so funny because the exact cards that I got are so what you just said. So check these cards out. I got the Hierophant and the Empress, and in the middle is the Princess of Pentacles. So it's like mommy and daddy, and then like the little girl. You kind of see it?
I can see in the big screen on my side.
So it's just like, it's kind of a funny thing that you're thinking about this, like, that you're talking about this like fingers in the ear thing or whatever, because I like, to me, when I saw this, I thought this had like major regression vibes of like a certain circumstance, or like the circumstance that we're talking about is like, it's almost like, okay, so we're kind of talking in terms of like mother complex and father complex. And it's just interesting because how you were saying about this sense of, it's like, I feel like the universe is manipulating me, or life is manipulating me, or the world is manipulating me. It's almost like Leo's projecting like this parental quality onto the universe, and they feel like they're being punitive, and because of that, Leo's like putting their fingers in their ears and like, nah, I'm not gonna hear you, like kind of being sorry, Leo, sort of like a brat to like a parent that's being like authoritative to you. But like I think we'll probably find as we go on that that's probably not the case, but it's almost like you're kind of projecting this sort of mother or father image onto the universe, and then you're like fighting with it or something like that, because like you're kind of resentful of some of the things that are happening. But I'm not certain that actually has anything to do with the universe doing anything to you at all, really. Especially with the Empress, I almost kind of had the sense of like kind of a strong nature sense of it, where it's just like, it's almost like a message of like, sometimes shit just happens, you know what I mean? Like sometimes there's just natural reactions, or like sometimes you just get a flat tire, or sometimes you just get stung by a bee. It's not like it's not the universe coming to smite you or to punish you or something like that. It's like kind of like well, shit happens sometimes, like sometimes sometimes good things happen, sometimes not so good things happen, and sometimes you're just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time, or something to that effect. But again, like that sense of fingers in the ears, I think is kind of stemming from, to some degree, like your willful resistance, which makes sense, right? Like Leo archetype, I think it has a lot to do with resistance, right? But like kind of like standing up to things, right? And kind of like being a really like strong, independent energy. And I think that whenever Leo perceives something trying to like hold it back or something being punitive to it, Leo can become really like resentful rather quickly.
I mean, Leo has a reputation to uphold as king of the jungle.
Yeah.
But as you were saying that, when you mentioned the Empress and how like sometimes like things just happen, it isn't necessarily the universe punishing you. It made me think of that, like, stop hitting yourself when you like grab something. And you're like, why are you? But it's like Leo might be doing it to themselves, and they're like, why are you doing this? And it's like, what?
I do feel like it's important to add just like one extra layer to that, because I think if I want to add that, it's like if you aren't coming through as resentful, then this is becoming like it's starting to morph into like some kind of form of like self-doubt. What comes to mind is puer aeternus, which is like the archetype of what's the man child. And so like it's somebody who perceives themselves to be like a child even though they're a full grown adult. But a lot of times that perception comes from like a negative sense of self-esteem, right? It comes from a lot of stuff of like, well, I can't do this, I'm too dumb to figure that out, I would need like an authority to show me how to do that. Almost a little bit reminiscent of some of the things that we said in Taurus. So if that, you know, if you have additional Taurus in your chart, you might want to watch the Taurus section because it actually is kind of reminiscent of that. But like looking for somebody to tell you what to do, and maybe to even some degree sometimes like looking for somebody to do it for you. Because like the thing that just popped into my head, stupid as it sounds, it was like, Mom, do my laundry, would you? You know, like that kind of thing. Like, Mom, the meatloaf, you know? That kind of thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was at work the other day and one of the sanitation people, she was talking about how like people are making her do work that like they could do themselves, and she was like, you know, it's like if I'm at home and my son drops his cup and we're both the same distance from the cup, and he'll look at me and ask me to pick it up.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Yeah, that is well said. It's a great example of it. So what do they do?
Three of Air and High Priestess are the cards that came out. Hold up. See, I feel like it's another one of these, like, because this Three of Air is this okay? So it's looking like she's not as blindfolded, even though her mask is still pretty masky. No, I can't even. Hold on, let me look at my screen so I can see if you can see the cards. There we go. Like the mask is still masky, but it's like because the High Priestess is the other card that came out, and the High Priestess usually sits between the two pillars, like one black and one white, and behind the Three of Air, sitting on this branch, is like a white bird with the crown and the black bird with the crown. And because of those two sitting there, it almost plays out again as like it was the Empress on one side and the Hierophant on the other side. It's like mommy on one side and daddy on the other side. And I don't know if this is something that might be, what's the word for like not ancestral, but a repeated pattern that happens?
Generational?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like a feeling of neglect from a parent that's, it's not that they're right there. This might be weird.
No, go for it, man.
But because I literally just noticed this bird with its own crown on the tip of the wing. And so it's almost like Leo's inner child is already healed. And like Leo's healed inner child is trying to get the adult Leo to realize that something that it needs to do is already done. And so then it's almost like that's when pain becomes I guess like that's where we can form an attachment to pain.
Mm-hmm.
But with going back to that the energy that Taurus got, where like it needs somebody to tell them what to do, it's like it's basically like comfortable in the pattern, and it's almost like Leo might not know how to exist outside of it, and so in order to almost simulate being grounded, they like go back to the pattern or they rely on the pattern.
I feel like that's an awesome insight, Patty. There's this Facebook page that I like to follow called Healing from Healing, and the person that runs that page talks about this a lot, but like people kind of getting stuck in like perpetual healing processes where it's like they, it's like it's almost like they kind of spend so much time, like kind of seeking healing in like all these different forms, and it's kind of like, well, like at what point, like have you done your healing work, and then it's something to conclude, and like to just accept that like you're okay. So it's almost like kind of what you're saying with this card, almost like holding yourself in like this childlike space, not because you're not healed, but because you just don't believe that you are.
And then I feel like if that's the case, then that would almost explain why like a stubbed toe or a missed bus or like the minor inconveniences in life suddenly carry so much more meaning, because it's the self, or it would be like Leo not allowing themselves to see almost like, again, like that they've healed from everything. And so it's like now they almost need something to be that pain point or the source of this, or and the High Priestess is here, so it's almost like because the High Priestess is here, it's almost like one of those. Well, Leo is healed, so there's no lesson to give Leo to tell Leo to stop doing lessons. There's no healing that Leo could do to get Leo to realize that they don't need to keep healing. It's almost like one of those. Who else had? Oh, that was Taurus, where I was like, if I tried to give Taurus a transformation after that, I'd be the Hierophant that Taurus needs to stop listening to so that Taurus can listen to themselves.
Totally reflected in the cards that I pulled for transformation. So check this out. So I got the moon, right? So that's kind of like exactly what we're talking about. The fact that it's almost like an internal deception, right? That not seeing it clearly or what do I almost, it's like I'm looking at these statues in the water as if it's like looking at remnants of the past or something like that. Looking at remnants of the past, but then the two cards that came out were the King of Cups and Queen of Cups side by side. So it's almost like you are your own mommy, you are your own daddy, like you are sufficiently an adult, you are sufficiently healed, and if you can kind of accept, that you don't need this external source to effectively like parent you, right? Like the universe to kind of parent you and guide you through life, that you're an adult that can both create and intuit. Those are the two words that I get with the King and Queen of Cups, that like you can create your own, you can intuit things for yourself, right? That you're sufficient in a lot of ways. The transformation is like, it's not necessarily a change, it's a change in perception of your role in your life, which I think is kind of a cool thing in my opinion. It's like very self-empowered.
I kind of love that.
I dig it.
Yeah, Leo's transformation is you've already done the transformation.
yeah, very meta. You already are transformed.
Yeah.
You got it. You just got to realize it.
I mean, you already said it, and you didn't even know you said it when you said it. This is not the reading you're looking for.
It's not the reading you're looking for. That's great.
Okay, who's next? Where'd my chat go?
Can we take a 30-second bathroom break?
Yes.
All right.
How do I'm streaming. I can do this. Oh, wait. Say goodbye. I am going to hide the cameras.
Nice.
This is a point where you get to sit with yourself. I'm just... I'm kidding. Kind of. Yo, we're back.
We back. We back. We back.
So I was putting the cards away, and I noticed that there were 2 cards that were left on the table, and it's the 3 of water and the 3 of air, and it almost takes me back to that, like, where Leo, it was like the stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. It's almost like Leo is the one that's like trying to get themselves to see that the healing is complete and that they don't have to keep doing this stuff, and then they're like, why is this? But it's like one of those movies where I guess like it would be a ghost, but the ghost is the person from like the future. The ghost of your healed present, because you're already healed, is haunting your tortured now to get you to realize that you're the same person, and then after you have that realization, you merge into the same being. I don't know.
When you held up those 2, I felt like
Happy Buddha at the bottom of the deck.
ooh, happy Buddha. Yeah, like I felt like 3 of air and 3 of cups was like almost like looking for other people to tell you that you're all right. That's kind of how I read it when you showed it. Like it was almost like kind of like, please tell me that I'm okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
like it felt like a real sad kind of thing of like, please like validate me kind of thing.
Lucy's back.
She came back. You came back for Sagittarius? You know, kick Annie off the bed. I think that's what. She's got the little waggy tail.
Are we doing Sagittarius?
Yeah, let's do Sagittarius.
Oof.
We already talked about it. I think we kind of have to. I think you should probably.
They didn't hear us talk about it.
They didn't?
No. I had it muted.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think we should do it.
Yeah. I think is this all 3 fire signs in a row? Well, because it was like Aries was so heavy, and then Leo wasn't as heavy as Aries, but I'm a little intimidated by fire signs right now. But it's a Leo new moon that we're sort of in the domain of, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised if it's hitting Leo in the trines. All right, you go first this time.
Me go. I go first. Sagittarius. Confessions of a horse person. What do you want? What do you want? I know what you want. She wants a TREAT is what she's looking for. I know you.
She's like, no,
I know what you're about.
Sagittarius wants a TREAT.
Hang in there. I'll give you something later. All right. Sagittarius. What is your confession? All right. What's going on with Sag? 6 of Swords is the first card out. Feels transitional, but it also feels like it feels like when somebody feels like there's something bigger than them, like attacking them or something like that. Okay, because I feel like it could kind of go a couple of different ways, right? Like it could be like this feels very projectional to me, like kind of projecting like the role of somebody or like a greater system for that matter, because I feel like it could also be something that's like a greater system, but like kind of feeling like there's like this external force or this external entity or this external system or conglomerate or something like that that's like somehow trying to like blow them off course, that there's like this sense of something trying to like meddle in their affairs or something like that. Yeah, 5 of Pentacles comes through with it too, so like very like down and out kind of. I got the word destitute. Yeah, 2 of Wands. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff about like feeling kind of left to one's own devices. Again, so 2 of Wands it's coming through the same as the other reading that we had it, where it was like feeling high and dry. So it was really similar to Aries reading. So I don't know if that's just kind of like a little bit of a fire theme going on right now, where some of the fire signs have just like they've felt kind of abandoned, or they've felt kind of like left out in the cold, or something to that effect. but there, it seems like it's more than that though, because it doesn't really just feel like somebody's just exited. It feels like Sagittarius has the sense that they haven't just left or they haven't just exited, but they're like trying to blow them off course in some way, shape, or form. And so like trying to like sabotage or something like that. So that's the confession.
So
I see the snake and the Five of Pentacles too, like snake in the grass. Sorry, that's the last one.
Yeah, Aries was the one that got the thunder. Because it was as Aries was establishing themselves, the thunder was coming in. The thunder is here at the bottom of, and the hermit is under the thunder. Ooh, someone's got like, this is like such noise canceling energy. And like Leo had the fingers in the ears, la la la, I can't hear you. And it's almost like Sagittarius. Oh my God, Sagittarius, you're not even here. Thought you could escape this. Think again. Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
But it's almost like Sagittarius is like, oh, Leo, how juvenile. To stick your fingers in your ears and pretend like you can't hear anyone. That's so childish. I would never do that. I'm an adult. I have a job. I go and I get soundproofing for the walls. I get noise canceling headphones. I get blackout curtains. But it's interesting because the drum actually came out. And for Aries, it was like there was the sound of the thunder or the sound of the drum that was being, what's that word? Distorted into sounding like thunder.
Yeah.
The first card that came out for Sagittarius in the elucidation was this Four of Air. Which, I feel like another sign got a Four of Air earlier. Oh my gosh, where's my brain? Sagittarius just stole it. Sagittarius said no. The Four of Air, and then the Council came out on top of the Four of Air in this connecting way. So you mentioned something about like a higher power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like that's what, like there's this attempt to connect to with the Council being up there. Oh my gosh. The Holy Mountain, but the Holy Mountain is, this is, okay, oof. I know next to nothing about native traditions and native traditional teaching, but apparently like working on has been everywhere. But it makes me think of the story of how the chief of humans got invited to join the council, basically, of beings that, like the Wankantanka. But this is making me think of the bear. The bear was the one that sat in the proximity of the meetings, but that wasn't able to join the council on his own merit. And so the bear basically had, because he was so near the meetings, he knew what they liked. So he went to the humans and he was like, if you do this, like they'll invite you, just make sure when you get your invite, you make part of your condition that I come along. And it's that because the Holy Mountain is in reverse. And it was like, it was the one that couldn't access. It's like it's not being able to access the Holy Mountain, but it's close enough to feel that it's in the presence of the council.
Where do you think it comes from for Sagittarius?
I would be tempted to say that it stems from the self and its self-doubt. I don't know if it's because of like treatment by other people, but it's almost like Sagittarius in this story doesn't see themselves as worthy. of joining. And so they try to not freeload, because it's not that at all. But I don't know if it's like it's to prove something by attaching to something or someone else.
Yeah, like I get what you're saying, because it's almost like if it's not worthiness, I want to say it almost comes through as like a fear, because again of going back to Six of Swords, like that anticipated greater negative force. It's almost like anticipated judgment is what I kind of get from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like it comes from like this anticipation of being like judged, ridiculed, or belittled, or like not. It comes from the fear of being deemed unworthy.
Yeah. And like not fitting in and rejection and all kinds of stuff. And so it it not permits. See, I feel like I almost had the word and it just like slipped out of my brain. I feel like a lot of snap, it's a Russell. Sorry. Hey Rex, how you doing? I don't know if it's. I almost wonder if of course Sagittarius isn't doing this with Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is smart enough to soundproof rather than nah, I can't hear you. It's almost like it makes me think of a genius that works like the mind of the genius that works against the person. A little bit. Because it's almost like I'm seeing it as like someone who could like reach a spectral finger into someone's brain and like pluck out a thought and like remove it. But it's almost like it would be Sagittarius doing it to themselves. And so the attachment to the other person, it's like Sagittarius removes it from them and like puts it into someone else and then tries to ride that. It's like if you've seen Donnie Darko, it's like that thing that would like stretch, like go out of people and then they would like follow that path type of thing. I've only seen it once and I don't even know what that was. And so it's again, it's just like someone else is the ticket or something else is the ticket, or there is something that proves the thing that Sagittarius may be struggling to like validate within themselves.
I'm gonna try to get 3 cards on what they can do about it. So what can they change? So I got Prince of Cups first, and like this had something to do with following an object of desire. But like it feels like it's a little bit more than just like a simple desire. It feels like it's about having an aim or having a destination, or maybe like just simply said, just having a goal, like having some kind of goal or some kind of something that you can kind of put your energy behind to obtain and to work towards, where it's almost like the social aspects, or like the rejection fears and things like that, or the fear of judgment and scrutiny, or being deemed unworthy. It's almost like the recommendation is to focus on like something bigger than yourself, or I want to be careful with that, because I don't want it to I don't want that to come off the wrong way. It's like deeming something worthy of your attention and something to kind of put like your fire and your passion behind becomes like enough for you to not be so hung up on external validations, is kind of what I'm coming through. It's like having a purpose, like having that meaningful pursuit of something somehow squashes those voices in your head that are about what people think about you and things like that. The devil. Okay, so this is kind of cool because I feel like this is almost like an embrace of a rebellious nature is kind of how that comes through to me. Okay, so I'm going to tie this back to psych stuff. So I took this really cool seminar on eating disorders, and one was about anorexia, and they were talking about how with anorexia there is like this severe and what would you say, like this severe fiery self-loathing and like anger and angst directed inward at oneself. And this will maybe come through hopefully in the transformation. But that anger and that angst, when it's projected inward and it's placed on the self, it becomes literally an anorexia. It becomes this like I will strip this body of flesh kind of impulse, like very like, you know, like this very like dark self-loathing. But if that type of aggression can be turned outward and put towards a pursuit, or like just in, you know, like put towards the pursuit even just of like of the person's well-being, it doesn't necessarily have to be put towards you know, towards a thing, but it's almost like taking that monster, like that monstrousness, and actually putting it towards something useful can be like the can be the catalyst for that person to like move mountains and do great things and like really have a like a full healing. So it's almost like Sagittarius has this fear of being deemed a monster or something like that, but if you could actually get in touch with your own monstrousness, you could actually take that and use that to like really achieve great things in your life. And then finally the last one is, yeah, okay, so Ace of Cups. It's kind of like the same story, right? So like that's healing, that's kind of like filling yourself back up and finding a new use for that type of detrimental, destructive energy. And actually it makes me think too of something that I heard someone say about art. They were talking about how an artist is someone who channels the destructive, chaotic force, because to make art is to take something bigger, break it apart into pieces, and then put it back together in some kind of new creative way. Like if you thought about how people make paints, right? It's like they grind things down, right? So to make pigment or to make paints, and that's what makes, you know, like creation. That's what makes beautiful objects. And so again, I think that's the remedy here, is to take that monstrous side and to use it for something new.
The transformation agrees. So the third card, I feel like my throat just got real scratchy.
We've only been talking for a few hours.
Oh, sorry. I just got a notification and I was like, what's that noise? Like, that noise is so familiar, but so... I was like, it's not Skype, because who uses Skype these days? So, the reason why I'm like, the last card in your transformation is the High Priestess. I think this might be the first time I've seen the High Priestess in the space of transformation. She's definitely made some appearances, and she feels like she plays on that Ace of Cups, like that came out towards the end. Now, what's interesting is you said you would like to see it in the transformation, and the Hanged Man came out, but because of like this behind the Hanged Man, like this feels like, I think the word is repository. How the self, the individual, is the repository of all of that intense self-loathing. But at the top, you can see it's almost like it's starting to vent a little bit near the foot. So if you're a Sagittarius with the Pisces in your life, maybe they'll help you out. Because the feet are ruled by Pisces, right? Or that's what people say. I guess this is also the card of Pisces. Saturn and Neptune are both in Pisces right now. So it's this combined energy of like dare to dream and don't be afraid to make it happen. Between the two of them. And for me, like the third card, the one that came connecting the Hanged Man and the High Priestess, and I guess it's interesting that I read him as, or I'm reading him as connecting these two, is the King of Air. And it's almost like, because you were talking about directing it into a like a creative pursuit or channeling it in a different way, and it's interesting because like the goal that was that inwardly directed intense self-loathing becomes like a lens for the eyes through which they see the world. And I mean, if you're speaking of artists, they do a whole lot of transmuting all kinds of experiences and expressing it in ways that, not only in ways that are less destructive and less harmful, but also in ways that other people can relate to, in ways that build connections, in ways that builds community, in ways of letting others know that they're not alone, in ways of also, it feels like it's creating a network of, I mean, not obviously, but like the word that pops into my mind is like a network of survivors, but I don't like, the word survivor can be so, it's almost like it's the grace of the entrapped and the bane of the free. Because it's like when you're in the middle of it, surviving is all that, like, it's all that consumes your mind, really. And when you are nearing coming out of it, or when you're out of it, that's when you get to have the freedom of wanting to do more than just survive. And so again, it's almost like that almost plays into this Eternian, like, don't be afraid to make it happen. Like, you can take it as far as the High Priestess, which is very like, there are no limits. You can become anything. This transformation, like, you could literally tap into the expansiveness of Jupiter and become so much of what isn't even conceivable. And if like, and it's like it's not conceivable because of like where you were or are and how that compares to the vast Jupiterian infinite distance between what your experience will be by the end and what it started out as in the beginning. So healthy outlets, definitely for sure, are going to be key in your transformation. And once you begin to do that, it's almost like you'll build up a confidence within your transformation. You'll build up a confidence within yourself, and you'll naturally tap into the part of you that pushes boundaries and that goes further and further. So yeah, that's what I guess you have to look forward to if you follow what Rob said.
Just do what I say.
Other people, you know, like Taurus and Leo, that was like, you know, do the thing that you want to do. Sagittarius, do exactly what Rob said. And it's almost like, especially if it's before you like develop a relationship with yourself where you aren't like unnecessarily or unfairly harsh and super critical and like not comparing, compassionate, caring and kind and nurturing and understanding of yourself. Like, if you can't give those things to you in that moment or right now, like, don't be afraid to take it from another. And it almost again makes me think of that saying or that quote A friend is someone who sings us the song of our heart when we've forgotten the lyrics.
And then the thing that that Russell sent, which is really funny that you say that, because he sent Sagittarius, and it says, well, it's in reverse, so it's gonna be hard to read, but it says it's the Bard of the Heart.
Oh, snap.
So yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. Bard, hero of the heart. But yeah, kind of like you're saying, right? It's about singing the song of the heart. Pretty neat. Pretty neat.
Wind at the bottom of the deck. It's the song that your heart makes when it's open enough for the wind to pass through it. I got something. All right, who's next? I love that quote. I saw it. There was like 100 random quotes and something when I was trying to get into reading, and so light reading on my phone was the thing. 100 quotes was about my limit. Who's next? Who's next? No.
Pisces.
No. Oh, Steph said Scorpio. Steph said Scorpio. She came up first on my screen.
Well, we already did Leo and Libra, Russ.
Pisces. Here we go.
It already happened.
Okay, since you did the confession for Taurus, I'll do the confession for Pisces.
What is your confession, Pisces?
Let's see. Let's see. So for those who just joined us, do you went through it? Wait, did you go through it in this video, or was that the last video where nobody could hear you? The stages, the 4 stages of transformation and what they mean.
Yeah, so the 4 stages of transformation. The first one is confession. So it's talking about the thing that you kind of have on your mind or on your heart, expressing the thing to get it off your chest. Elucidation is kind of like an interpretation of why that might be happening or why you might feel that way. A lot of times it kind of digs into like some of the unconscious stuff. Third part is clarification, which is kind of like okay, so now you recognize what's going on, so what do you do about it? And then the 4th stage is actually having the transformation, and we're kind of looking at like what life would be like after you did something about the thing. Okay, and I totally didn't ask that so I could type it on the sticky note so that I could stay more on task. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Okay. All right.
I think it's a fun format.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just like it's succinct, you know. Like I wish even if some of the readings go longer, I like that. It's a roadmap of a reading. I wish when I was still reading, I wish I would have done something like that.
Well, they say it's never too late.
Yeah, we'll see. Retrograde only lasts for so long, Patty. My time's limited.
Back for a limited time only. Catch them every Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, okay.
Pisces. So I spread out this. Oh, I should close my eyes. Okay. Well, the first one was thunder. Here's the second one. Oh, you got greedy. Greedy, face down Pisces. Pisces' confession is there is no confession. Okay, let's move on to Scorpio. Oh, no! The bottom of this half of the deck, or this piece of the deck, is the Sweat Lodge.
Sweat Lodge.
Who mentioned it at the very beginning about Rob and the Sweat Lodge? She's a Virgo. Why is Pisces getting it?
That's right.
So the cards I see for you, Pisces, it's Thunder, Smoky Mirror, and the Ghost Dance. Now, Smoky Mirror and the Ghost Dance came out together when I was looking for one more card. The third one is face down. Oh, it's the King of Water. Or Pisces, you know, that makes sense. It's Neptunian. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Oh, snap. Hold up. Ooh. What just popped into my mind is like, let me show you who you are. And it's because water is so conductive that I go oof when I see thunder. Because it's almost like there is nowhere to hide within a body of water to escape. It's like it's due to the conductivity of water that there's no place to hide from it. And so then the smoky mirror and the ghost dance almost comes in as an energy of like, it's the shadow of Pisces. It's very like self delusion. It's very like, it's almost like it tries to create separation in order to contain or prevent. It's like, it makes me think of like a magic show with like a magic anime or movie where like there's a character that casts fireball and it's a really powerful fireball, and so on the other side there's like barrier, like all of these layers of barriers trying to like weaken the fireball so that it doesn't touch the person that stands behind it. But in all of those barriers, it's almost like it distorts more and more and more the thing. And then we have the sweat lodge at the bottom of the deck, which it's like it's naturally, it's like there's a water, it just like it feels like it naturally evaporates the thing, the barriers. Oh, that's the fire. Fire evaporates water. So it's almost like, too, there's this energy, because the body of water is so large, it's almost like Pisces could be anywhere within that. And so the sweat lodge, the fire, evaporates the water because it's much easier for Pisces to hide in liquid water rather than gaseous water. You know, unless Pisces is a flying fish that can turn invisible. It's hard to look like air. And then the curse is behind the sweat lodge and the blade is behind the curse. So what's on Pisces' heart seems to be, it's almost like it's a time to stop hiding. Or Pisces is wanting to feel like they no longer want to either see the world through such a distorted lens, or they no longer want to be so disconnected in all of the ways. That's very protective mechanism. In the most elusive, aloof way. Potentially.
Yeah, so like when you were saying about protective mechanism or whatever, we have Seven of Swords, which I feel like is kind of a definitely a form of protection, or like trying to like keep something out of reach from the rest of the world, like trying to protect something. It's almost like it makes me think of like that kind of inner chamber, or like that inner heart, you know, like that sensation of other people, you know, because like these always look like eyes to me, you know, not like in, I don't know, like it kind of reminds me of that evil eye symbol, but I don't really want to go there. I don't really think it's about evil eye, but something about like a conversation with a client is totally popping into my head, and he was talking about how he has a lot of discomfort with ever acknowledging good things going on in his life, because he's really fearful of the envy of others, or like looking like he's doing well to other people, like almost as if he would feel badly if he made other people jealous, or, you know, something like that. But at the same time too, like also the damage that could be done by other people's jealousy if he were to really succeed, or something to that effect. And so then Nine of Wands is over here, and I got this sense of I hide in chaos were the exact words that I got. So it's like I create chaos, right, to hide, or it's like almost like kind of a deceptive sort of thing. Now, like I don't know if that would go so far as to say that like chaos, meaning like I create destruction, but like kind of more so like I do things to kind of throw people off the scent, you know, or like I put up um, what do I want to call it? I'll use your word. I put up barriers, right? I kind of put up barriers to sort of like stave off the eyes or the vision of others because I don't really want to be seen 100%. And I think that the process that's going on, you have Queen of Pentacles, but this is about growing. I feel like this is about growing oneself. So it's almost like as I grow and develop. So the way that I'm interpreting this confession is like as I grow and develop, I need to make sure that I keep that a very private process because I don't want the eyes of others to interfere with that or to somehow harm me.
When you were talking about that, it made me think of octopi, squids, when they ink and then they like dash away.
Yeah, cloud, just like I create a cloud.
Oof. I hope Scorpio is just as cutting for you as this is for me.
My life's an open book.
So Pisces, oh, the eagle was here. Okay. Oh, 5 of fire. No, it's fine. You can go back in. It'll come out if it needs to. So the two cards that came out, it's the hummingbird and the serpent. And, I guess that's interesting, going off of what you were just saying. Because the bird and the snake have been a symbolism that I've been seeing lately, and it symbolizes when order. No, it's the sweat lodge. Because the bird and the snake symbolizes when order wins out over chaos. You said Pisces was creating the chaos to sort of hide. The sweat lodge was naturally evaporating or like eliminating barriers. And so it's almost like it is like the barriers are coming down and walls are coming down. See, I almost lost it. But it's this hummingbird. Instead of it being like the eagle is at the bottom of the deck. So that's when I was like, because typically it's like it's the eagle and the snake or a bird of prey, a bird that's larger than a hummingbird. Unless hummingbird is taking snake eggs to stop problems before they hatch. But it's almost like it's trying to go about doing it in this like loving care, very sweet way. Like, yeah, like if it tries to transform while abiding by the limitations that you spoke of, it's like, yeah, I'm doing really well, and like I'm doing kind of well, but you're doing really like well too, like, and like I'm not even doing that good, like. So it's like it kind of sorts to try to get into it without going like full eagle mode. I don't know if so like if this comes out in this way. Now that I have my sticky notes to keep me focused, I should have did this before. I mean, to be fair and to be transparent, Rob totally suggested it, but I was like, no, I want to put up the big words that I'll forget. But it is like, it's almost like Pisces is reaching the point where it's like they're starting to realize and recognize how intentionally creating chaos or how downplaying or how the fear of other people's reactions or jealousies is starting to negatively impact them. And they're reaching the point where it's like they don't want that to be anymore. And so it's almost like a coming to terms with, almost like pushing the boundaries, pushing the envelope, like releasing or dropping one of those barriers to see how hot the fireball is on the other side before it like cooks you. But just give me like one more. Oh, okay. I said, oh. Oh, that's like a million. So, stand still at the bottom of the deck. Yeah. Stand still in the sweat lodge. It's not fighting it anymore. It's allowing a purification process to happen. On one side, it's the 4 of fire, the 3 of fire, and the 9 of air. Where this feels like very slow progress. It's like the fear is still present with the 9 of air, but with the 4 of fire and the 3 of fire, it's very like baby steps. Like take a 3 of wands step, a 3 of fire step, and then you establish security with the 4 of fire. And you take another 3 of fire step and then 4 of fire. So it's like this 3-4 steady progression, 7 of fire, standing in opposition to, from a high point, victorious against like opposition. And then on the other side, it's the 9 of fire and patience. So I think it's because I don't know if Pisces is making it slower than it needs to be. I mean, we all go at our own pace, and that's what's important in life, that we allow ourselves to go at our own pace. But because this 9 of fire is this 9 of fire in particular, and because there is a star, a few stars behind the head of this patience card, it's like there's something to be gained by slowly going through this process. It's almost like one of those, it's not stopping to smell the roses, but it's like when you rush through something, it's easy to overlook something. And so it's almost like now it's feeling like something when Pisces was like distorting things to create those barriers. It's almost like there were things that got caught in the distortion and frozen in those barriers. And as the barriers start to fall or melt or thaw or be broken, then it's like sometimes there are these other things that kind of sort of shoot off a little bit. And so now it's turning this, or it's giving an edge to this, like trying to appease others energy. That gives it an edge of like allowing Pisces the time that Pisces needs to reach points of self-acceptance and to come to terms with this or with that and all kinds of stuff.
When you were showing your cards and you were talking, I kept having the thought, what a shame for an eagle to pretend to be a hummingbird. And then I flipped my cards, and ironically, I mean, I got 10 of Pentacles, which is part of it. But what I got was Princess of Pentacles, or I guess pretending to be a Princess of Pentacles when you're actually a High Priestess. And it's actually kind of ironic because the High Priestess even kind of has like an eagle wing, which I thought was kind of cool. Kind of cool messaging. But it's almost like the transformation ultimately is like, when do you cease to stop playing it small? When do you cease to stop keeping yourself small and actually be, I'm going to hate myself for saying this word, #abundant. when you actually allow yourself in your full force, in your full magnitude, the transformation is when you stop hiding yourself and stop trying to fit into things that are smaller than you, and you actually allow yourself to be, in your full force, right? And so I would say Pisces, the trick would be becoming aware of the ways in which you keep yourself small. And I think that if you follow the steps that were kind of laid out in front of you, those are kind of steps to actually finding your full magnitude, right? And I think what the pairing is with this is that there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot to be gained. I never look at 10 of Pentacles as simply being just about finances or just about money or material things. I look at it as being a lot more, but it's like the transformation. And if there was like one succinct way to say it, it's like, Pisces, you could be more, if only you allowed yourself to be more.
You came back in full force for today, didn't you?
I did. It's been percolating.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, then you might as well go all the way, right? It's retrograde season. No regrets. Hashtag YOLO. All right, who is next? Who's left? I don't think we've done Cancer, Gemini, Scorpio. We've
No
done
Cancers.
all the fire signs. We haven't done Capricorn. Is that it? Capricorn, Scorpio, Cancer.
Oh yeah, we haven't done Cap yet either.
Dusty deck delivery. Oof. That means it's potent. It's been aged like wine.
All right, Steph says Scorpio. So
Scorpio.
am I the confessor? Am I the confessor?
Yep,
All right.
why not? Let's go.
All right. Okay. What is the confession? First card, 8 of Wands. I feel like I need some context. King of Pentacles. 7 of Swords. So this is actually, this came out.
Pentacles. The King of Earth
Yeah.
literally just slid off the deck.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's, like, the confession feels like it has a lot to do, again, kind of with, again, defense mechanisms. I'm kind of reading it as the same way that came out for Pisces, like things that Scorpio is trying to keep out of sight, or things that Scorpio doesn't necessarily want others to see, that are like maybe certain sensitivities or like things that aren't being communicated about. I feel like a lot of this has to do with King of Pentacles. I'm going to say like finances, material things, security in the world. I would say like a lot of this feels like really kind of sensitive to me, where it comes like a lot of fears or worries around securities and like really kind of practical things. And I think that it's interesting that the 8 of Wands comes through in the confession of that, right? Because it's like all those things that aren't necessarily being communicated. I also say with these two cards, a lot of this would be like duck sitting on water, right? Like where it looks as though up top, like things are presentable and orderly and so on and so forth. But underneath, I think that there's a lot of, I would say probably like insecurity, a lot of timidness, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of self-doubt. And I would say that those are probably the things that Scorpio doesn't really want other people to see. And so I also feel like 8 of Wands, like with this rocket, you know, it's like there's like jet propulsion underneath, but then there's also jet propulsion up top. And I was just thinking to myself, like if Elon Musk over at SpaceX made a missile or whatever, or a rocket that had propulsion in both ways, like it would just be like astounding pressure. And so I something about like the crunch or like the pressure, and a lot of it I would say probably feels self-imposed. Elucidate me, please.
Well, this is carrying some like past life trauma vibes, low key. So 6 cards came out in pairs. Well, the first 2 came out in pairs, and then I was blessed with a pair for the last one. We start with the King of Earth and this 10 of Air. Then there's the 2 of Earth and the Mystical Shaman. So when you were talking about, like, it felt like it was bridging upon the mystical. And then it's the Beloved Magician. And so it's almost like, it feels like it plays on a few of the things that Scorpio is associated with, or rules. Like it plays on the occult, which it's just reading more as like maybe a knowledge that a lot of people might not necessarily have because of an attentiveness, a consideration for detail, or where Scorpio places it that a lot of other people don't. And then we move into the 2 of Earth with the Mystical Shaman, which feels like an internal battle of almost doing things the hard way, the difficult way, in order for a secret to not be found out. Or it's almost like maybe Scorpio is in a field or pursuing something in a way where it's like it's important to pay your dues. And so it's like something has to be a struggle. It has to be difficult. It has to be like you go through this rigorous process in order to prove that you're dedicated. If we're playing on sort of like the shadow of Scorpio, it could be like when a Scorpio, it's like that loyalty that Scorpio is about. So it has to prove it. Maybe Scorpio proves it to themselves. Other people prove it to Scorpio. Scorpio proves it to other people because it's important to Scorpio, and Scorpio wants other people to know how important they are to them, and so they do things in their way to show other people. And it's almost like if the lines aren't there, then from the outside it may seem like it's almost like it may seem distant, even though there's an attempt at communication for it to relay like a closeness. And with the beloved magician, it's. I mean, we'll elucidate and do the or clarify and do the transformation, but like this is almost that like it doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that difficult. I almost said it doesn't have to be that easy. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be that easy because we get to make the choice of we can overcomplicate, but beyond overcomplicate, we can choose to do things in a more difficult way. Now, this Ten of Air, it's almost like reading like an abundance of blessing or things that come easily or things that come naturally to Scorpio that would naturally put them there, maybe in a way that others, real or not, would like. It's almost like, well, that's not like Scorpio got everything handed to them. Scorpio's had it easy. Scorpio's never had to do whatever. And that's not necessarily the case. But in order to communicate that it's not the case, then again, like that might be why Scorpio's like taking a hard way or a difficult way about going about something. Feels like a lot of proving where it doesn't necessarily have to be as difficult or fill in the blank.
Yeah, I get that. All right, so what can Scorpio do about it? Three of Cups is the first card out. Princess of Wands is the second card out. And Prince of Pentacles is the third card out. So I kind of feel like this can be read in a couple of different ways, and I feel inclined to put the Three of Cups in the middle here. I do feel like there's some kind of emphasis on other people, connecting with other people, getting help from other people. But I also kind of feel like the princess and the prince, both in this little 3-card draw, I feel like are also kind of like aspects of Scorpio too. And it's almost like I feel like Princess of Wands is like this very musical kind of character, and it makes me think of that notion of sometimes you got to let the song write itself. So like kind of with any work of art, a lot of times artists will talk about how the sensation is as if the song wrote itself or the piece of art kind of created it itself, and they were just sort of like the medium in which those things kind of came through. And so I feel like as far as like a mentality or something that Scorpio can kind of connect with and whatever affairs that are kind of troubling them right now, I think recognizing that sort of idea is really helpful. I also feel like Prince of Pentacles is has a lot to do with patience, and like kind of going through the steps of a process. And I feel like it's about like I feel like it's consistency, right? And so a little bit of like a trust the process kind of vibe, I would say, between these two, where it's like allow for it to create itself, right? And kind of like go through the consistent steps or go through that process. I do still feel like there's some kind of aspect of other people. And I almost want to call Three of Cups is like it's almost like a card of collaboration. But I think it's also about like maybe bringing other people in for help or something like that, because I think Three of Cups is coming through like a real Three of Pentacles kind of card for me in this reading. So bringing other people in, but then also kind of like collaboration, building things, allowing things to create themselves, and staying consistent.
The transformation. There were some cards that came out face down. The drum is bottom of the deck. It's another repeat appearer. Yeah, sure. The card that came out is this Page of Air, and it feels like it's a complete and total acceptance of the self. Like you see on this side, it's a little shadowy. On that side, it's like she's in the middle. She's in between. But as you were talking about that Three of Cups energy that has the Three of Pentacles in it, it feels like there's a room of people, and like Scorpio was like going from one to the other, and almost like adding things. I guess if Scorpio were a chef that had like a natural palette or whatever they call it, like a perfect palette. It's like Scorpio would go over here, sample this, know exactly what it needs, like add it, and then go to the next one and add it and go to the next one. And so it feels like it's like the relief of Scorpio to not have to be less. It's the relief to exist in that openness in a way that it's like it's so fluid and connected, and like it just knows. But also it feels like it's very appreciated at the same time. King of Air, Three of Air, Eight of Earth. Oh look, there's that Eight of Earth again with the musical instrument. It's almost like Scorpio, the completer of unfinished symphonies. And it's like Scorpio can tune into, with this Three of Air, it's almost like Scorpio becomes able to tune into what would be heard as discordance. But again, it plays into that like perfect palette that Scorpio has, where they just sort of know what something needs. And it feels like with this King of Air, I mean, we go from the page to the king real quick, which is nice. So this usually is like Scorpio is its own biggest hindrance. But it feels like in this somehow Scorpio also elevates others, which is pretty cool. It feels like maybe it's part of this beloved magician, it's part of the mystical shaman, and a lot of like shamanic tradition, being the person that people go to in a time of need. And it's very like it sets them straight. They're on their path, and they're the next great whatever they are. And there's no competition in here at all. It's just like it's beautiful all around, and it feels like it's all love, and like Three of Cups in its highest, most communal, widespread sort of like energy. But first, like again, Scorpio has to allow Scorpio to do that within Scorpio. So like Scorpio loves all of these different parts of themselves, and whatever Scorpio needs in whatever way Scorpio gives to themselves, or they allow themselves to receive from others. And so then that internal scorpionic dynamic and transformation begins to mirror and play out the same externally. Yeah. I know you said you had, I think at like 4-ish.
Yeah, definitely got to be done before then. I think we'll make it though. I think we'll make it. We'll make it. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Who's next? Cancer? Knock out the water signs?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Cancer, I'm not even going to shuffle for you. I'm doing your... I am shuffling, honestly. I mean, I'm going to pull your cards. What's Cancer's confession? This... Ooh, water. Okay. This one, the Holy Mountain, still in reverse with the smoky mirror behind it, and this one, the moon. Well, the moon rules Cancer. It feels like Cancer's confession. The sun is at the bottom of the deck. It feels like Cancer's confession is that it's like they're lost in their own emotions or overwhelmed by their own emotion. It's like an environment that Cancer is naturally suited to and that like they naturally feel comfortable in. It's almost like something's happened to disconnect them, or there's something that's causing a sense of unease. And I don't even know if Cancer necessarily knows what it is with the moon. But also with the moon, and especially the sun here, and us being in the space of a new moon, where the moon and the sun are occupying the same space. It feels like, again, like it feels like Cancer doesn't necessarily know. But it like low key feels like something from a scorpionic depth is rising within Cancer. And again, like for Cancer to be as connected to the self as Cancer is, I feel like that's why this comes at so much of a shock, almost to why this, why now, why is it? It's almost like Cancer feels like they should be able to handle whatever they're going through, and they don't necessarily know why they are struggling in whatever way they may be.
3 for 3 in the third position. I've gotten seven of swords, and ironically, the way that I flip this around, at the bottom is the moon. I'm gonna kind of stay true to this messaging. A lot of this is, as it's been for both Scorpio and Pisces as well, Cancer. This has everything to do with what we try to guard and the things that we're trying to defend ourselves from. And I feel like when Patrick was doing the confession piece, I felt like a lot of it had to do with being confused, and like it was almost like the confession of like I just don't know what's going on. I don't know like what people are up to or what it is that they're doing, and that got mirrored in these two cards. So 3 of Pentacles, it very well may be people who you work with, but at the very least, it's usually just kind of symbolic of people that are around you, like cohort, colleagues, whatever, people that you spend your time with. But this one for me, 5 of Wands, has a lot to do with inner conflicts. And so it's almost like the people that you're around are setting about inner conflicts. And it's almost like, I wonder if 7 of Swords is about like people doing a lot of unsolicited advice giving, as I'm doing right now. No. But it's like a lot of people like telling you like, well, really, like you really should take care of that. You should really do this. Like you should really, like people kind of telling you how you should live your life. And then I feel like a lot of it's like you not really wanting to do those things and then like kind of rejecting that. But then like, I feel like there's a little bit of a self-esteem piece to this where it's kind of like, oh, well, that person seems like they've got their shit together. And if they're telling me that I should really like put all of my money into Bitcoin, well, like maybe I should do that. You know what I mean? Or something like that, even though you kind of feel like you shouldn't. But then it's like a lot of self-questioning and self-doubt. And I just feel like it's kind of a lot of inner conflict where you don't really know if you should be listening to other people or if you should be listening more to yourself, which I think is a good enough setup for the clarification part. What should they do with that?
I mean, the first card that comes out is the smoky mirror in reverse, so probably definitely don't listen to other people.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's almost this like, don't listen to other people because you need to hear what you think and what you feel and what you It's like what you, and this might be something that, again, oh, this is way too many, but I'm going to take them. Oh, there's our sorcerer. The sorcerer and the spiral. And many paths. Oof. And then the circle behind many paths. So, yeah, this is a definite, almost like a loop or a wheel, spinning wheels, like can't get a hold of it. But we have the magician, the two of earth, the king of earth, and the 10 of air. The cards that flipped over is 4 out of 6. That was a part of Scorpio's elucidation. I guess I did feel like it was something rising from a scorpionic depth. And their elucidation is your clarification. I almost wonder if maybe it's like it's for Cancer to slow down in a way too. Because it's like it feels like Cancer's getting caught up in its cardinal modality. And so even if there's like confusion that comes in, or even if there's doubt, then it feels like Cancer just keeps going because it's within that cardinal modality to keep going and to never stop. And again, it's like slowing down, tuning into self, listening to self will help you begin to get clarity in ways that it feels like Cancer will begin to see things that motivate their thoughts, actions, and beliefs. But it's like primary beliefs or fundamental beliefs that at a level that Cancer might not fully realize or recognize. And could it be from somebody else? Sure. Could it be something you picked up along, like living life and being raised? Could it be a societal pressure or expectation? Yeah. But it's like in that slowing down, it provides Cancer that opportunity to go like, wait, like, is this what I actually think or what I actually feel? Or is there an attachment that I have? Is there any merit to this for me personally? Like, would I care if I did this or didn't do that? Or you were about to say something? I heard the breath. You weren't? What? I thought you made a breath like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was always about to say something. So what I get for the transformation is actually, it's pretty nice. So with Princess of Swords, I felt like this was kind of this sense of becoming a person of the world again, which I think that's always kind of a tough thing for Cancer, because a lot of times I think Cancer feels very anxious around people, and it can be really hard, like especially like in the kind of empathic sort of sense, where I feel like a lot of times around like bigger groups or bigger crowds of people and things like that, Cancers can feel really overwhelmed emotionally. And I think that the transformation, if you kind of take the steps that Patrick laid out, I think that it actually provides an opportunity to feel more regulated and what's the other term? Like more regulated and more connected to the world and other people. Like you can kind of like, didn't you started with the mountain in reverse, right? It's like you can kind of like, you can come down off of the mountain and it's like you can kind of be among the people again. It's like you don't have to hold yourself in a sense of isolation. And then you got 6 of Pentacles and 9 of Pentacles, because I think a lot of it is like needing things from other people, you know. And so maybe part of it is because it's been so uncomfortable to be around people, that you have maybe like neglected the fact that you do actually need things from people. And I have this sense that with like through this transformation, if you can find it in yourself to be around people again in that way, it's like you'll receive the things from people that you need. I don't really feel like there's much more to say about it. It's like there's things you need. You need to go back to town for supplies, like it's like a video game or something like that.
And it's like when you were talking about that, it makes me think or feel that like once cancer is able to find a home within themselves and to really feel comfortable, then they can like more authentically and genuinely like open up to people and connect. And I don't know, for some reason it didn't necessarily come out anywhere, but it's almost like cancer may have this perception of what other people think of them, and so it colors certain like social situations or dynamics before like cancer is fully engaged in it. And then it's like as you sort of feel comfortable and at home within yourself, you allow yourself to, like I said, open up more vulnerably and authentically with others. And you realize that like they don't necessarily think that or feel that. And so then it becomes like a weight off of like cancer's mind and like all of this pressure that they don't have to sort of carry, and it allows for even further smoothness of relationship with sort of people at large or in different sort of gathering scenarios. I'm putting the whole mountain up right
I'm turning this card around now. We got Capricorn and Gemini.
now. Yeah. Gemini
Which
is
one you like?
last.
All right.
No, we can do Capricorn last. They're cardinal. No,
Okay.
we'll do Gemini last. I don't know. I'm waffling.
I felt like Gemini should be last. No offense, Gemini. I like
Save
Gemini.
the best for last. I always say that if the world didn't have Geminis, then people would look at Pisces with a little bit more of a scrutinizing eye.
That's true.
I was like, we're basically the same.
Pretty close, yeah. Do I got the confession?
Yes.
All right, so this is the Capricorn confession.
Confessions of a Capricorn.
Gotta warm up the hands a little bit. All right, Capricorn, your confession. It's an interesting confession. First card out is the Star, which was like, it was like, you don't want to confess that you have hopes and dreams. I could see that. The Starman, which is the Magician. Oh, and then the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, so Capricorn, it's almost like it's like the confession is it's almost like I have aspirations, but I'm almost like afraid to tell people about them or something like that. I don't know if there's like some kind of level of fear of judgment for the things that you actually want. I don't know if it maybe has something to do with, like we were saying before, about like wanting to protect your plans and your dreams from the, you know, from the eyes of other people because of what they might try to influence you to do, or, you know, like protecting things from scrutiny. In a lot of ways, I don't, I mean, I guess I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, because I know that sometimes when you have a new plan, I know that sometimes people can, you know, like especially if somebody discourages you, or if you know that you're around discouraging people. So I mean, it comes through as a confession, but, you know, not necessarily as a criticism, but nonetheless, it's almost like the confession of having hopes, dreams, aspirations, things that you actually want. Four of Pentacles almost feels like the need for financial stability, but then almost like being self-judgmental, you know, something to akin to like, well, if I admitted, you know, that I needed more money, well, that would make me materialistic, or, you know, something like that. And so it feels very like, I don't know, self-judgmental, self-critical, you know, for the things that you want or for the things that you desire. And I think that, you know, just kind of a point to be made is that a lot of times these desires that we have, you know, it's not necessarily something that's, you know, like a need isn't always a choice, right? Or I would say maybe like a need is never really a choice. Like it's a thing that you're looking for. But anyways, it's like you're kind of trying to hide your needs or hide your wants from other people.
So the elucidation on that is interesting. The Seer, Taming the Wind, and the Sacrifice have come out. And it's 45 followed by 55 and 44. So it's like the 45, the Seer, feel like somebody else had an energy. It might have been a few people. It's like it can see a thing, but it doesn't necessarily know how it's going to play out. And so there's almost this fear of failure that's partnered with being, it's like a fear of failure that's partnered with being a fear of being perceived as a failure that creates this extra pressure of like, if there's anything that I'm going to do, like I need to do it right. I need to know that 100% for sure I'm not going to look this certain way. I don't know if it's necessarily like that you have something to prove to somebody, to everybody that said you couldn't do it. I don't know if it's because there is a real life external pressure on you to perform well. Like you got bills to pay and you need money and you can't afford to like lose your job, or like, especially if you work like it's not gratuities, commission. Yeah. If you work like a commission based job, then it creates an extra pressure to perform and to provide a certain level of service so that people would do this and do that. And with
oh, sorry, I just was going to ask, do you get the sense that it was like Capricorn had an experience of like failing publicly or something like that? Not to put words in your mouth, it just kind of sounded like what you were saying.
it could be that, but it felt like there was this a pressure for Capricorn to perform almost because Capricorn has been so successful.
Oh,
And
okay.
because Capricorn has done so well that they become pedestaled by a lot of people.
Gotcha.
And then that creates a performance anxiety to continue. And so it really limits the risks that Capricorn will allow themselves to take. And taking that a step further, it's like if Capricorn is like, has a platform, or if the pedestal that Capricorn is on, it's not necessarily celebrity, but it feels very like role model-y, to the point where it's like very like, I don't want to disappoint these people, I don't want to disappoint that person, like I might. And it almost feels like Capricorn might be someone's hope. Or it's like, wow, it's because I see Capricorn doing this that I believe I can do it. Or like, I feel like I'm almost dancing around it, but I can't. I guess I'm struggling to find a scenario where Capricorn's success, it's almost like someone else's life is on the line if Capricorn doesn't succeed in some way. Or maybe that's just like the amount of pressure that Capricorn is feeling from other people. And so with the sacrifice, maybe there are things that like Capricorn would like to do, be a little bit more adventurous, be a little bit more risky. It's almost like an investing. It's, I don't know anything about investing, but it's like there's the portfolio of like surefire investments, like guaranteed to continue accruing and growing, but maybe not very slow. And then there's like the high risk, high reward ones. And maybe one of the high risk, high reward ones has a mission statement, or they're doing something that Capricorn really believes in, but it becomes that like the risk isn't worth the reward. And if there was, I don't know if Capricorn's like that, I should have invested in Apple back when Steve Jobs was still in his garage, and like, you know, he was my neighbor, and you know, I blah blah blah, and I could have, but I didn't because, you know, somebody else told me it wouldn't be good, or I couldn't afford to lose that money, or. But it feels like in Capricorn sacrificing all of that, it's almost like it expedites a burnout, and it causes pressure to be even more intense. Like it knocks the load cells out of their calibration. And I say that because of there was something at work where they were like, it was measuring as over, and then later we measured the thing again and it was even more over. But when we checked the weight against another thing, it was exactly the weight it was supposed to be. And so then it's like, oh well, is the load cell like are the load cells out of alignment? Are the things that it's almost like the springs under the mattress. Like you don't necessarily see the springs under the mattress unless they start to poke out. But when you almost like lay on it, it's almost like if you lay on it the right way and if you're sensitive and in tune and present enough, you can tell when it doesn't compress like it used to, or if it doesn't have the elasticity that it used to, because it doesn't bounce back as quick. And so it's just like it feels like there's something that's internally weighing down on Capricorn. Heavy.
Patty, can you turn me down a little bit and turn you up a little bit? That's the
Yes.
our peeps are saying that I'm a little loud, you're a little quiet.
Well, I might be a little farther from the mic than I was when we started. I can't turn me up anymore, but I can turn you down.
Yeah, I hear you great, but I'm also in the Google Meet with you, so I don't know if it's just something about the OBS.
Oh, probably.
All right. Anyways, so kind of coming back to, I'm clarifying, right, and then you do the transformation on this one. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, so if Capricorn, what could Capricorn do about dealing with some of these high expectations of themselves and the image that they're trying to live up to? Let's see what we got. So what is the advice here?
Oh.
So I feel like the advice here has a lot to do with like there's like this real splitting effect here, and it's actually like apparent in all three places. So we have Nine of Wands, which I feel like is kind of the burnout that you're talking about, or like being overwhelmed by like things that the person has to uphold. Like they're upholding a what would you say, like a gratuitous number of things, and that's kind of what's leading to this burnout. But I feel like then there's this sense of choices that need to be made, choices that I would say are authentic to oneself, but there's like this great internal conflict. And so I think what we're getting at here, Capricorn, is there's this really strong need for you to like unify, like a unified front. So it's almost like there's two parts of yourself that are in juxtaposition against each other, like the part of you that feels like it needs to fulfill other people's expectations, and then the part of you that's just like plain tired, like the part of you that's just burnt out and just like doesn't have more to give or more to do or more to offer or something like that. And like I feel like this really kind of strong sense of saying to you, Capricorn, it's like you can't be everybody's everything. And so then that Five of Wands and this Nine of Wands almost morph into this feeling of like trying to fulfill all roles, right? And so I think recognizing that it's just sort of impossible to fulfill everybody's everything. Like there's not enough of you to go around, and it seems like you're really spread thin. And then like Two of Swords, it kind of comes with this sense of it, like it cuts to the bone, you know, like kind of like a real painful experience. Is there something else from that? I think that's pretty much the point. I think it's just about being wary of that drive to be everybody's everything all the time. It's just not possible. It's almost like embracing your limitations, or understanding that like you have a finite amount of energy to give. Like it's not endless, it's not boundless, no matter how much you think you need to do all those things.
So, if you can learn to, oh gosh, I don't know if this is if the phrasing is because Capricorn feels the way that Capricorn feels about it, But it's almost like if you can learn to accept your shortcomings and your failures as a human being, but it's literally like your failures as a human being. As a human being, you're not capable of doing all the stuff that you wouldn't need to do if you didn't have to sleep or eat or rest or do all kinds of stuff. It's the ace of air, the coyote, and the ace of earth. And it's almost like this is so like when reaching that point where you realize that rest is productive. And reaching that point when you realize that like by taking care of you and giving yourself the things that you need in all of the ways that you need them, you're going to be able to better perform. You're going to be more focused if you get more rest. You're going to be more energetic if you eat right. You know, you feed your body all the nutrition and vitamins and nutrients and stuff like that. It's like taking care of you isn't taking away from anything or anyone else. And that especially counts too for the things that the human being needs as a human being. Like the frivolous things, like candy, music, amusement parks, anything that your heart desires, especially if you're capable of doing it. Because again, it's just like when you take care of yourself, when you feel better about yourself, when you're giving yourself the things that you need in all the ways that you need it, you're more open to, it's like a rested brain's ability to find solution much quicker than the exhausted brain. Or the person who travels and experiences different perspectives and cultures and whatever, who's able to then approach problems in a way that they've learned or heard of someone else like approaching problems, and it's like it brings so much fulfillment and opportunity for impact and furtherance than one might think, especially if it's simply like, oh well, that would be a waste of time, and like, oh, I can't afford to do this or I can't afford to do that. Because with the ace of earth, the interesting thing, and I think that's why the coyote is here in between it, it's because it's not necessarily what you think. In the ace of earth, it seems like it might be ungrounded, that it might not benefit you, but the ace of earth is very grounded and very prosperous and very able to be naturally what is being demanded by others, but in a way that allows the self to be human and to enjoy being human. Hopefully, potentially. I mean, it's there.
When you're holding up that coyote card, I was just thinking that, you know, so like a lot of times with the shadow, people think that the shadow is like human darkness. It's really just things that people don't accept about themselves, right? And so it's like, it really could just be as simple as a part of your shadow self, Capricorn, is like tiredness or weakness or fatigue or laziness, or, you know what I mean, like burnout, right? That those are just all things that you don't accept within yourself. And I think the transformation is about accepting the fact that you are, you know, flawed and limited like every other human being on the planet, and that if you could accept that part of you, you would see transformation.
That's Capricorn. It feels like almost, I guess you could say like a little too on the nose for Capricorn. Capricorn's confession is like, you know, I can't do everything. I'm not perfect. I'm not a natural success at everything I do. I get tired. I get burned out. And we're like, yeah, Capricorn, you know, we're not surprised.
Yeah, it's like everybody gets tired, dude. Get over yourself.
And then it's almost like, well, and then it makes me think of like, Capricorn's is like, well, what do the lazy people do to get over their burnout? What do the unemployed? It's like, what? And then it's like someone who's like I have a full-time job, Capricorn. What do you mean unemployed? Sorry, I'm not running 24/7 like you.
There's a Carl Jung quote that goes something to the effect of, it becomes very difficult to what is it? I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm going to kind of mess it up, but the notion of it is that people very easily become identified with their persona. So like the person that they put out within the, like usually within the work world, or like within their communities. And the point of it is that it's often easy to become kind of taken over by one's persona because it's effectively rewarded in cash. And so like the idea being that there's a lot of like a lot of times people will get really identified with their persona and like their work personality and so on and so forth because it's so highly rewarded in society. Like it's like you become really conditioned to just kind of become that person. So like for instance, if a Capricorn is a I don't know, like a real hardworking business person or something like that, well, they're getting all of this reward and like monetary gain and so on and so forth. So it's like people tell them that they're good for doing these things, and then it's like they kind of assume that they're bad when they don't have those, like that same drive present.
I mean, that's true facts. When you get paid to do something, and again, it's like maybe it's because I mean, money is a thing. Like we exchange dollars for goods and services, and the better the service, the more high quality the good, the more we pay for it. So we do naturally associate value with, but I guess the trick comes in to like when we can differentiate or allow for there to be a separation between like value that's attained from the work that we do and like value from who we are as a person, or a value for these other things, and not allow, I mean, it seems very like, well, how would you do that? It's not like people are like, oh, here's $1, thanks for being nice, thanks for holding the door, here's $20. Like, wow, I'd hold doors open for everyone. But
yeah, I think like to some degree it's talking about self-worth being tied up in work ethic.
Yeah.
I think so, like recognizing you still have a worth or a value even if your work ethic isn't present.
You're more than what you can do for people.
Yeah.
Also, and not layman's terms, because that was already in tired brain Patrick's terms, I guess. And for the Capricorn that needed to hear it, there you go. You are worth more than what you can do for people.
That's right.
So last and definitely least, I'm kidding. I love Gemini.
Hey, Gemini rising.
I think I knew. And then like an Aries moon. Yeah. I was like, oof, that Aries Gemini combination.
And Scorpio. I'm like a Bond villain.
My South Node is in Gemini. Maybe that's why I love Geminis. Am I doing the confession? Oh, I would love to do Gemini's confession.
Do it. You got it. Make it happen.
The Sorcerer. The Star. And the Holy Mountain, now upright. I feel like this is a Gemini that's like playing small. Like this Gemini's confession would be like, I'm so much more capable than I let people see. And it makes me think of like in a movie, it would be the girl who pretends to be like dumb and bad at everything so that the boy that she's interested in can like feel better about himself by helping her and showing her how to do it. And so I guess it's just like playing to egos at the expense of selling yourself short, of course, but it feels like it's also a lot deeper than that. And maybe it is one of those like there's so much that you have to offer the world that you won't give if you're not being you type of energy. Because in this deck in particular, It's just the fact that the star isn't pouring out anything. And then you have the holy mountain here. So it's almost like it causes a desert. Or it's like where areas where there should be water, and water being the one of the precursors and one of the necessary things for life. It's like it should be a lot more abundant and verdant and green than it is. But it's because Gemini isn't doing the thing, because Gemini wants to appear to be reliant or not as strong. I don't know if it's like a Gemini that doesn't want to intimidate people, also. Or if it's a Gemini who's in a position, again, where it's like there's a lot of fragile egos, and to preserve the peace, they just like don't do or say whatever.
All right, Gemini, why do you do that? Eight of Wands came out in reverse. So on the reversal. Empress. Four of Pentacles. You know, this has got like this huge vibe of like the Empress I'm kind of taking is like a mother figure. And I'm getting with Four of Pentacles and Eight of Wands, children are seen but not heard. And so like I almost felt like this was one of those things, like you are wary of speaking up too much or of being too verbal, probably like on the basis of some kind of conditioning not to communicate so much. It also kind of like plays into a little bit of a stereotype with Gemini of being kind of like hyper verbal, right? Like I think a lot of air signs kind of get that stereotype of being very talky. And so I wonder if like you haven't taken a fair amount of criticism for being hyper verbal. I also could see it being like sometimes children are like really emotionally expressive, and like where sometimes you know, like I don't know, like over like superficial things or something like that, the child may cry or whatever, and then the approach of the parent sometimes is like to shame the crying. And so I guess I'm just thinking about like maybe having been shamed or like at the very least made to feel foolish, or given the sense that being too expressive is to some degree something to either be ashamed of or something that's to a degree insulting to other people. So I would say that's why you do it.
So how can you feel less ashamed of who you are as a person? You could build a time machine and go back in time and tell off the person that shamed you. Or you could Eight of Air came out, and I'm looking at how they're like dropping these feathers. So I guess you can't go back in time and do that, but this is like an inner child healing. It's like you can validate yourself now for who you are, and you can learn to like love and accept yourself now. You can almost like, it's very like put yourself in situations where you can be appreciated, but you can do that by taking stock and taking inventory of like the people and the places and the things in your life. And you can invest more, or you can make more conscious choices and decisions to spend more time with and in those places. You're welcome, rather than to continue to try to impress or win over people or places that like would cause you to continue to mute and like be less, or to feel ashamed of your natural expressive nature. The chariot is now here with temptation and the ancient ones. I feel like the ancient ones, it speaks to, it's almost like how long you've been carrying something and how heavy it's become. And almost like how difficult it may be to go back and to reparent your inner child, do your inner child healing, how difficult it might be for you to like not crave acceptance in the way that you might because of what you experienced in the past. And to like allow that, to allow things to shift in a way. But I would almost, at least hope, but think that as you allow yourself to be and exist in more ways where you are genuinely loved and accepted, even that's on the internet in a forum where you find people of like interests or whatever, it's almost like that positive, welcoming, like love and validation just for who you are will begin to outweigh your need to be accepted or approved by others. It's almost like finding your place and allowing that space to grow rather than trying to like contort yourself into situation after situation.
Yeah, the cards I pulled for transformation, I feel like this is kind of the same sort of sense. So I was talking about the Empress being kind of like a maternal figure. So your first card out was the Queen of Pentacles when it came to what the transformation's about. And I just like I felt like kind of going off of this, like whoever this like maternal figure is, it's almost like the sense of, it was like they were trying to, they wanted you to be like them, right? And maybe you might even like identify with this as being, maybe you even have like an earth sign mother or something like that. But it has this strong sense of whoever this parental figure was, it was like they were maybe pushing for you to act like they do, or to, you know, like kind of be more like reserved, or maybe like a little bit more stoic or something like that. But then coming out after that, Ace of Pentacles, when I pulled this card, I got it's your claim to fame though, right? And so like this expressiveness, right? It's almost like somebody was kind of trying to get you to stifle what really is your ultimate claim to fame, you know. And you don't have to take that in a grandiose kind of sense, but just saying that like a big part of what would make you successful, I think, is your articulation, your expression, and your ability to portray things. So this ends on Queen of Swords, right? And so I think your transformation here ultimately is kind of shedding the version of yourself that someone kind of put upon you, right? Kind of taking your claim to fame here and then using that that form of expression in that, you know, like very Queen of Air kind of sense, and actually utilizing that to your benefit. And I think, you know, kind of probably going beyond just Ace of Pentacles, like financial gain and stuff like that. I think it's probably a big part of just you feeling like secure in yourself and feeling grounded in the person that you are, instead of biting your tongue all the time and not saying what's on your mind or what's on your heart.
Ooh. I concur. Is that everybody? Have we forgotten anyone?
We haven't forgotten anybody, did we?
I'm pretty
I think
sure
we got everybody.
All right. Thank you for, you know, being so kind and so generous with your time today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of
I
course.
appreciate it. It was fun. Actually, I had kind of a blast doing it.
Yeah. Does
Everybody
anyone
concurs.
want to No. Yeah,
Aw. Yeah, it was so nice to see you guys. Thanks for having me, Patrick, on your channel.
no. Yeah. I mean,
Thanks for
you know,
letting me
you
see
are
everybody.
always welcome over here. So,
Who knows? Maybe I'll drop by again sometime.
yeah. If you don't see Rob, it's because he doesn't want to be here. It's not. It's not because I don't want him here. Okay.
Just, yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Mercury hasn't even officially retrograded yet, so you know we've got at least a few weeks.
I know, that's what I was saying. So like, I was talking to Patrick this morning, and I said to him, I went to go take a shower before we hopped on here, and I said to him, I was just like, what's retrograde that's got me on YouTube today? Like, there's gotta be something going on, because I don't know why I'm back here. It just kind of happened this morning.
Everything is. What do you mean I've never invited you? Well, technically, Rob didn't invite himself, but he was just like, it'd be a really cool idea to do another, for me to go live on your channel. And I was like, yeah, it would be. Patrick and SpongeRob and Patrick, like old times.
To preface that, though, we did say, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, we're kind of like, yeah, maybe we should do something sometime. So, and I was like, we were talking this morning, and I was like, today might be the day.
I was like,
Today's the day.
The day that I worked my 12-hour shift and. I'm kidding.
Oh, you're tired.
That's fine.
If it makes you feel any better, I gotta go weed whack.
Oh yeah, that makes me.
I gotta go do yard work before Lindsay gets home.
Oh wow.
I'll get in trouble. Get in trouble for my Queen of Swords.
You can blame me. It's fine.
Like that'll hold up.
Just say, oh, the internet made you do it. It's because like you had been away for so long and you were having such a good time, and our very lives hung in the balance of your sage, wise words and wisdom that you stripped from us. And you had a great service to do, and Lindsay's like, okay, yeah, right. Well,
that don't matter. That don't matter at all. No, I'm kidding. My wife's not like that. A little bit.
Excuse me. What? Wait, she's a Scorpio too, right?
She is.
Yeah, I was like, I remembered.
I always say she's a queen of air, though, because she's got Libra moon, Gemini rising, and then like a number of Libra placements. So she's really airy, even though she's a Scorpio.
She's one of those Scorpios.
She's one of those Scorpios.
It's almost like, oh yeah, no, that's not anything occult. It's science. Not necessarily.
She likes astrology.
Ooh.
She's actually kind of, I think, because it's kind of like it's kind of like the sciencey part of spirituality in a sense, right? So it kind of she digs astrology.
And it's not one of, I guess, kind of one of the oldest sciences. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at something and you make your observations, and we've taken principles of that and we've applied it to plants and animals and people, making people and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, she actually kind of gets into tarot a little bit, Russ, because I think she looks at it like, I think the cards have attributed meanings. You know what I mean? And then I think it's like she looks at it very like, of course, like really analytically though, that if you're asking about work or something like that, and then a bunch of cards with pentacles show up, and then she's kind of like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of interesting. So yeah, she's pretty open-minded about tarot, but I think more than anything, I think she likes astrology more than anything. I kind of like astrology a lot too, because it kind of gets at like that personality science, quote unquote. You know, like I think astrology or like zodiac signs were like the first attempt at personality psychology.
Does she get down with the psychology?
Oh yeah, she thinks it's pretty interesting, for sure.
Because I could almost like it's like the symbols and cognitive links between. Oof, I don't have enough brain to try to finish that sentence.
After 12 readings, I don't blame you.
Oh snap! We got the Time Master. Oh wait, Pachamama's behind the time. Oh snap! Pachamama's been whispering something in the Time Master's ear, and then the middle world is here. So I feel like the Time Master knows that something is about to go down. Oh, and then there's the Tree of Life at the bottom of the deck.
Nice.
In the middle of this one. So I'd say listen to Rob so that you're prepared when the great whatever happens. Get your transformations done, or you'll
Get your transformation on.
So,
Patrick, you're right. He cannot resist.
I can't. I mean, because I gotta, shuffle them and put them away. Oof, I am like really hungry now. I'm glad the hunger I grabbed a few granola bars when we went on that bathroom break. Well, I grabbed one and then I oh. Yeah, it was only one. Well, that's why I turned the camera off, so. Okay. Alright, well, thank you for reading. Yes. Ooh. No problem. A card I haven't seen. Bye. Check out Rob Kenobi Comatose Band. It'll be linked in the description. And I'm doing it. You tag me. I'm linking it everywhere. Comatose is going to be my profile picture for the next 24 months. I'm just playing. All right. I mean, I'll do it. I will. Here we go. Where's my end? I got so many windows open. Bye. You'll probably see this in like a year.